as well, but at least for now, it's looking a little bit better than it was earlier. I just want to point out, shout out to SoFi. I just saw it in the chat. SoFi has gone green on the session.
Yeah,
so
took it long enough, man. Everything's up 1%. Come on.
SoFi. Hey, it's up 0.8%. It's
up 0.8 right now?
1%.
Oh, good.
It just flashed a point. It's up. And now it just did it again. Some dark pool prints going off, I think, that are skewing that. But a nice little bond been made. This could bear watching this afternoon. Volume candle bottom. Consolidation level from Friday was 18, 12, or 13, and you've got the same high here today. This could be a breakout. If this market wants to make some fresh highs, why not SoFi? Why not? Oh, by the way, USO starting to turn back to the downside. So we'll leave you with that. USO pulling back in. I'm just going to show you the black chart because it's Oxy that I'm watching here. USO's breaking this trend. If it loses VWAP, going to take the trend break short on Oxy, and with that, it's 11:01. So we come back, we give a little extra time, and just because I'm saying so, we do an extra minute. So Joey and Sharif was 2. So you'll see us back at about 2:02, maybe 2:03. But for now, enjoy yourselves with Joey Options, Sharif the Professor. We're gonna get some salmon. Hopefully it's cooked well.
Good luck on the salmon. Yeah, I think it'll be good.
We'll see.
I love teriyaki salmon.
I do. I just want it to be cooked right. You know, that's all.
Okay, over to the midday. See you guys. 2 p.m. We're back. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh, that was perfect timing, Assassino. Greetings and salutations, beautiful people. Welcome to the Midday Show. This dude right here
Rob Van Dam
is your boy Joey Options. I'm Sharif. Oh, yo, RVD was sick.
Yeah,
he was
Frog Splash.
5-star Frog Splash. He did a bunch of different things. Benton, here we go. 9 points clear. Only one game in hand. City, you're on the ropes. Arsenal with another big dub. Oh, baby. All right, Callum Mitchell, Miller, hanging your wife. Shout out to David. Shout out to the Phil something. Juan Padilla, Big Bobby, shut up. All right, we got Danny Patel, we got Robert Lewis, MF Dangerous, Walt Country Club, Ochiri. Shout out to Andrew Chow and Jaguar. Now let's see some new names, guys. Come on, throw in the new names, baby. We got Outlaw Trader, Sean Carter, Guzman, Toms. We got, who else? RJ Trades. I'm looking for new names. Let's go. Cold King, Blue Army, Dino Vincere, the Jack of all kings. Rex Banner he's not new, but he's an OG. Rage Quit Radio, Timo the Day Trader, not Timu, Brody M, Doobs McPhee, all right, Adam DeLuce, all class Adam, baby. We got Il Akoka and Dean Allen. There's a bunch of different names I'm seeing here, new names. I like it. Joey, good morning, brother. How was the weekend?
Pretty good, man. And typically short. I mean, nice chilling with the dog and everything along those lines. All right, guys. Yeah, I mean, Ryan, I didn't even watch any fights this weekend. Yeah, a lot going on. Welcome, everyone. Stevenson, nice work on the short on the overall market. That's what we want to hear about, brother. Let's get right into things and see what we have on our radar here today. We're going with the mega caps, SPY, TQs, NVDA, IBIT, and Tesla. Tesla was definitely pretty strong here in the morning. I watched this consolidation breakout, and then it just kind of went without us here. But there's multiple opportunities to get involved, especially at the volume-weighted average price hold, and then you just kind of stair-step higher. So that was a...
Well, you're good. You're good.
All right. Just make sure that everybody knows about the morning note.
Making sure it's working.
So Bitcoin essentially moving higher over the weekend, looking for some continuation on today's intraday session. You kind of chop around a little bit, then you take a leg lower, but we were talking about some key levels on the options chain as well too, right at 42. We were fortunate enough to go to 42.28, roughly around that high, and then it started to sell off a little bit here. So I'm wondering if the hedgies are pushing price lower. We do have that supply zone. Wasn't absorbed fully. You have a little bit of a squeeze, but then now we're trading around to 41.70. Gonna keep our eyes on it. Tesla still hovering around the volume-weighted average price, so we'll take a look at that one. But what I do like here in Bitcoin is that you open up above a range. When Uno Momento, we'll go to Adair in a second, but if we can hold the top end of this range, then maybe we'll get a little bit of continuation here in Bitcoin throughout the week. But one trade here this morning, we'll take a W on that one all the way up to 82.16s. We were in at 82 roughly. 99s was my fill. But then when the market was climbing higher, NVDA wasn't participating, so on that last pump, I was happy to take some off, about 35 to 40%, and then sure enough, as soon as it started to tank and fail to break this previous pivot high, I'm just like, you know what, this thing's gonna be weak, so we got out, break even right there, and then it did proceed to flush. So not too bad, small W here on NVDL to start the week. Adair, what do you have?
What I have here is this ORBS, 8Co Holdings. So basically the company quote tweeted a post on X saying, quote, I feel like the majority still doesn't know that 8Co invested in OpenAI. Then, again, as mentioned here, ORBS, 8Co Holdings, they quote tweeted that and said, this is correct. ORBS gives investors direct exposure to OpenAI before their IPO. Now, obviously, this is a slight exaggeration, but it is true that ORBS is, I guess, invested here at OpenAI. So with that in mind, ORBS talking about how investors can get exposure to OpenAI through investing in them is getting a spike higher. That is ORBS. They are a small cap right now, trading around $1.12. Back to you.
All right, so yeah, we were talking about this earlier this morning, just during our quick option segment. $42, we were looking at that specific strike price. It was worth 55 cents, right? So $55, but now you see almost like a 45% increase in that name. $42 strike price, now worth $85. So after the open, the options market obviously pricing that 3% gain in which we've seen in Bitcoin over the weekend. So keep an eye out on that, but it's also starting to increase in open interest. 32,000 contracts at that specific level. So keep an eye out on that. We're gonna have options expiration cycle this week as well. We'll take a look at one more name, and that's gonna be NVDA, to see how we are around that 185 mark. We reject it cleanly, 34,000 at that specific strike price. That's on today's expiration, but you can see 185 almost doubled in size. Not quite, I mean, maybe 30% there, I should say, but we had 80,000 contracts at that specific level earlier this morning, and then here today on Friday, but now that we open up, you're going from 85,000 open contracts roughly to 113. Supply zone, what was the high of the day to be exact? I can tell you that right now, around 185.05, and then now we're trading south of that. So watch out for the supply levels on IBIT on NVDA.
All right, NV, there's a seller at 57.74. That's multiple attempts now into 57.74. We can't shake the seller there. A couple of beak wetters through the high on this one. Nothing to write home about. It's ending up possibly here as a topping tail through 57.50. The high is 58.43. I'm talking pennies, guys, not dollars. On VEEE, it's only up 46.5%. It had a good breakout there in the midday. Let's see if it can shake that 57 seller at 57.75. Let's see, working into 57. No continuation. I stop out below 52, packing the patience here. Took a couple of beak wetters, but nothing to write home about. Let's bring in the side chart and talk about all the other ones that are running. I think Adair just talked about this one. ORBS breakout through 108. Had this on the side chart over here. Flat top break, ascending wedge pattern on orbs, ORBS. Look at this, kind of great looking bull flag, starts manifesting around 10 o'clock, give or take. The volume really coming in at half after the hour, 10:30. The biggest volume bar of the day, about 1.8 million shares, 117 high. Going to keep an eye out on this one. CTMX, this is the one that I was talking about with Neil in the pre-market right when we went live at like 8 a.m. I said to Neil and the boys, I'm like, look, if this is trading above VWAP at midday, I'm game. It still is. It had, its moments right at the implied balance open. It dropped into the low of the day into 604. But it's broken through. It's broken through that 7.5 flat top. Also an ascending wedge pattern with these higher lows holding off the 10 EMA, really blowing through that 7.5. It gets into the official high a day, which is 796, but it is still below that 705 high, which did breach 804. So we're like all of 6 pennies below the high of the day, but it looks like there's a 796 seller here. Great look for CTMX. You're also seeing it on CXAI. CXAI, also one that was running on Friday. It's a sub $1 name. In fact, the high of the day is 30 pennies, but it's at the high as we speak. Another very, very aggressive move up on CXAI, so something to keep an eye out on there. WNW, this is the one that Neil was talking about before the boys finished the show. A couple of red candle pullbacks, but you can see these two candles here all defend How is that even possible? I'll defend that $5 area. So look at that $5 area, multiple bottoming tail candles coming off 5. So 5 to me, between 5 to 475 is the entry area here for WNW for me anyway. So this current candle does have a higher low. Let's see if it breaches prior bar high and breaches above 5.5. That's another thing to look out for. The reason I say 5 to 475 is because the 10 EMA is showing 481, just a little bit above that $0.75, and then the $5 area is what it is. Of course, it's where a lot of the buyers step in and step in quite aggressively. I got stopped at a V as that one is looking at like a Christmas tree retracement, losing the volume weighted average price, losing the $0.50 momentarily, trying to work its way above it now. I want to see if it steps in, or the buyers, pardon me, step in at 48 pennies. That's a 10 EMA on the 5. So we know these ones tend to get a little volatile during the initial breakout and then they settle down a little bit. We'll see if V settles down or whether or not it just continues to sell off. So the ones that I'm really looking at right now, given where they are, is WNW and HCWB. HCWB, another big mover, but, you know, losing the dollar now, and it's suffering from, you know, an unbroken downtrend ever since putting in that 110 high a day at around 10:15. Let's see if it can decidedly break through that lower trend line and by extension of that, get above the dollar. It's trying its darndest right now to get back up above that trend line. It's putting in a higher high above the prior candle. HCWB is the ticker I'm talking about, and it's up a healthy, very healthy, I would say, 82, 83%. Really haven't made the initial move. I want to say it right at 8 a.m. It did bupkis until about 8:15. And then for whatever reason, the volume and the price action started developing quite aggressively. And then, you know, if you were watching this one at 8:15 or 8:30, you might have thought, you know, that's the end of this one. Look, it got to 87 pennies. Now it's losing the bid quite aggressively, almost looking like a, you know, a V-shaped retracement, upside down V. But it wasn't the case. In fact, the bid started coming in quite aggressively at around 9:30. And when all was said and done, we did breach that $1 area, albeit on a wick basis, and then headed back down. So I'm certainly in, you know, there's a lot of small caps running today. Whether or not we're going to have the type of continuation that we long for during the midday, or whether we're going to have another day like Friday where there was just no continuation, and like Monday and Tuesday of last week, Monday and Tuesday and Friday, it was very hard to find continuation plays into the afternoon. Wednesday and Thursday were not. You found the continuation was very strong. So we'll see what today brings. But I'm trying to be alive, Joey, to the fact that, you know, I can only size in if the continuation is there, especially as a long. And, you know, that's where it's been troubling me lately, is that we're taking bigger positions, and sometimes we're getting clipped because we're taking bigger positions into a market, which shows you very, very clearly that there's no continuation for these small caps during the midday. And so I need to become a little bit better at spotting when there is and when there isn't. So that's what we're going to work on, Joe. We're going to keep an eye on these ones, and we'll see what today brings.
Good stuff. All right, yeah, a lot of people talking about ORBS this morning. I took a look at it here. It is running. It's looking really good. And then really some people were talking about NBIS as well, Nebius. There goes NVDA right through the volume weighted average price, heading towards the HOD. I want to see how we react around 185. It looks like at this pace, we're going to head into that neck of the woods. We're only about 70 cents from that marker, so we'll keep an eye out on that. Tesla going oppo and starting to form somewhat of a head and shoulders pattern, but I want to take a look at this name, 8Co Holdings. I've seen a lot of people in the chat mentioning it, one being Mike Peter Ryder, and other people just going like, hey man, we're going with the flow on this one. May not understand necessarily what's going on, but price action says enough. If it's off to the races, just go with the flow, and I think that's kind of been the narrative right there. Bitcoin heading right back towards the volume weighted average price, and then we have Tesla coming to the top end of a range or a downtrend. So if it sits on the backside of this, right at the volume weighted VWAP, I'm involved. But look at NVDA go, now starting to skyrocket. Some nice indecision prints off the lows. So you want to participate in that one. I was thinking about re-engaging right at VWAP. That would have given me a significantly better price than my first entry. But I'm like, you know what? Let's wait for that pullback. We did get it right here, and then off to the races it's going. buying. And I think at this point, as I mentioned before, it is going to breach that high of the day. But yeah, this is the thing about ORBS, man. You drop 11 cents just like that as quick as you'd like, essentially, as Sharif would typically like to say. And then who knows what can happen. But that is substantial volume. Keep an eye out on that. It's met by some aggressive volume already, and this 1 minute candle just started there, guys. So a lot going on. I want to wait for Tesla, considering we looked at this from a daily on last week, and I'm like, hey, just watch out for this channel, right? Like this downward channel. And we went over multiple examples where we're like, oh, okay, whether it be to the long side or to the short side regarding Microsoft, Netflix, the Googles and everything along those lines, is like, hey, once these trend lines break, then you have a good opportunity to get involved with that. And I think that's going to be the exact same narrative here in TSLA. The way that I'm thinking about it is if Elon's really ready to start ramping up the RoboTaxi and Optimus production, then I think once that gets starting priced into the earnings report, I think Optimus will start significantly slower than what the RoboTaxi will. But I think it's really, really big stuff, and we remain forward-looking with this name, and I think that's going to remain the case, all right? So if they go through another growth cycle, I really like what they got going on, because autonomy, in my opinion, is that next big thing in the car space, and I think just kind of from an evolutionary standpoint, a fundamental change in our day-to-day operations, it's going to be along those lines. Q's popping, somebody saying, yeah, I mean, it popped a little bit, but we're still hovering around that neck of the woods. We're rejecting the top end of this trend line here on Tesla. We'll draw it out for you guys. So we have to be a little bit more patient on this one. Any forms of indecision, then maybe we'll look to get involved a little bit early for the anticipation of that break. Remember what I typically say, unless you have a really planned out thesis, participate, don't anticipate. As I just said, I was going to anticipate. But I have an idea and I have a plan, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, then so be it.
All right, man. Just give me a sec, guys. Just trying to set
Do you want me to?
No, you're good. I don't have to be talking all the time. Just setting up some orders here for WNW. WNW is breaking out, so I have to keep an eye out on this one. I have to give it room, though, so let's see what we got over here. Okay, so yeah, WNW took out prior bar high, and it's a 10 EMA hold, but it's not exactly rocketing up here. So I'm trying to keep an eye here on WNW. ORBS found a lot of support at 110. And V is breaking down again below 50, below my entry. So just trying to keep an eye here on WNW. I think that this one might be the one, but it looks like it's topping tail through the prior high. So if that's the case, I don't want to get caught in that downtrend. I can give it to 5, but 5 is a random area for WNW, right? Because the 10 EMA on the 5 is at 484. Prior bar low is at 460, which is substantially below where we are now. So I don't want to jump into this one too quickly. Yeah, look at that. It's coming off the high a little bit. Let's see if it gives me a little bit more room into 5. That way I can give it to current bar low. Current bar low is 474, right? So right at that $0.75. Now, if it takes out the $0.50, that's a different story. It did reject the $0.50 by current bar high on the 5 is 545, right? So yeah, this one looks like there is some selling into the $0.50, and now it's below prior bar close, even though it breached it on a wick basis. So WNW looks like there is aggressive selling. So right at that level, good. They didn't jump in. I tried to jump in the 80s on WNW, thinking, you know, that I could give this to prior bar low into the 60s. That's a good risk to reward setup on that, but I decided not to. I was trying to focus on V. So I'm going to continue to wait here a little bit longer on WNW. It's not breaking down, but it's not taking out that $0.50. Now, it has breached prior bar high, but on a wick basis only. So this current candle on WNW is bamboozling. The reason I say that is because it's breached prior bar high and it has a higher low. So right back into the $0.25 we go on WNW. Let's see, so I've planned my entry at 535, but I'm trying to wait for this candle to close so that I can exactly see whether or not we're gonna rocket through that $0.50. If we rocket through the $0.50, I have a bias that we see 6, right? 599 is the high of the day. So I think we see 6 if we can break up through that $0.50, and that will put 2 candles with higher lows and higher highs. So I think we've got another less than 30 seconds or so on WNW's 5-minute candle. That's what I'm gonna base my trade on, Joey. I'm gonna wait to see if we can clear that $0.50. I know that doesn't give me a great price, I get all that, but there's too much room between the current price action and the area of support for me to feel comfortable getting in with the amount of risk I wanna take here. So we're gonna pack the patience.
All right, man, right on. So yeah, we're involved here. Unfortunately, I am in at the top end of the range on Tesla. We did knock on the door of this trend line and then we rejected aggressively. So we're in at 37s. We'll give it 10 cents worth of risk right here. So 27s, that's plenty of room in my opinion. If it decides to take an additional leg lower, then we'll have to kind of reassess the situation. But the overall market is slowly grinding higher. We have IBIT right back at the volume weighted average price. So we'll see how we react around there. Maybe we can put on another position here, but a nice little pop up. As soon as we get a 5-minute and even potentially a 1-minute sitting on the opposite side of this trend here, then I think we're going to be sitting in a pretty good position. So nope, stopped. You got stopped out there, Gorb, already in a starter size. Yeah, I know it did break through. I would go a little bit smaller. Gorb, and then just give it more room, right? So I'm in here risking to 27. That's plenty of room. And if it breaches this and the momentum really starts to pick up, then we can just get out of the trade before we even get stopped out. So we'll continuously monitor that. We want to stick with strong names. I thought we would get somewhat of a continuation here in Bitcoin. Maybe that'll come later on in the day. I mean, 3% over the weekend, a little bit, give or take a little bit there. And strong movement, sitting on top of an additional resistance zone. So I like our chances for somewhat of a continuation. We just need to get through this week's options expiration. And there's a lot of size there in both NVDA and in IBIT. And if those really start to clear and you don't see them rolled over, then the chances of us continuing a little bit of a recovery is very positive. But I want to point this out as well because I think it's important to note. I was just doing some things over the weekend as I typically do. But what we have here, and we talk about trend line breaks and everything along those lines, but what we have essentially is another pivot point, right? Like if we can use this as a potential level and use it as a gauge, then I like our opportunity. Let's switch this up because it's on the daily. I have to remove this. Created a new algo over the weekend as well. It's so easy now, man. It's crazy.
Love it, bro.
Don't even, like coming from someone who has no coding background, I literally just throw everything into GPT, rinse, repeat, say no, modify this, type, just write the error that Pine script is telling it, it corrects itself, and then I just implement it right back in. It's insane how easy this stuff is now, and I'm having a whole lot of fun with it. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking here, guys. We come back and we test this 76,000 mark, but what this tells me is that we have an additional touch on our trend line. So now we can hold more weight on this downtrend. What am I getting at? Well, think about it on other names that I was just referring to not too long ago. Okay, the Netflixes, the Microsofts, and the other names that have this consistent downtrend and they're broken. So what I would want to see here in Bitcoin is we retest this, whether it fails or not, but I have an additional pivot point in which I can use to gauge for an additional entry or an add into my longer term position or engage in a swing position in general. So as soon as we have the ability to sit on top of this, we retest it to the downside, and then we're on our move higher, I like Bitcoin even more. Now, could that scenario happen? Absolutely not. But if it does, we have a game plan, and if it comes to fruition, then sure enough, we can execute on it, and that's what I'm looking at here in the crypto space. Yeah, what's up, Ramin?
She's here.
Yeah, it's a big
She
smile.
smiled?
Big smile.
That's crazy.
Big smile on her.
Oh my goodness. It's gonna be a good day.
It is going to be a good day.
Get it, Ram. All right, there goes V into the high. All right, we make it back and then some over here. Patience, patience, patience. Into the high of the frickin' day, 61.98. I'm waiting now for my 3R at 64. We're packing the patience. It's a 62 penny high. Let's see If we can get up there. I see you, Joe Steggs. I see you, my man. We're looking for that move here into the 2/3 of a dollar on VEEE. It stopped me out initially, but you know, there's no way for me to know it's going to do what it's going to do, right? I have to manage risk. So we got in with twice the amount of size that we took in initially because of that great recovery below the volume weighted average price and quite a clean hold here of the 50 penny area. I mean, it breached it by very little amount. I'm talking about the 1110 candle on the 5. It got down to 49.31. But it closed it closed at the near the high of the candle at about 55 pennies. There goes WNW, Joseph. We took it out at 88s, in at 55s. I see you, Casey. I know you're trading this. Here we go, 599er high of day. We're posting in very close to the high of the day. 87s, 90. There it goes, Joey, into $6. Give me my freaking money immediately. All right, we're doing it live right now on WNW. What a big breakout. I see you, Case. There goes WNW. Yes, baby.
Where's that girl, Casey, right there?
She's trading what I'm trading, my guy.
She's in there.
All right, we're doing it live right now. There's a big epic fight between longs and shorts at $6 as we anticipated. 647 high. Use your resting orders, guys. We're keeping an eye on this one. We don't have too much in the way of shares left. Let's just put it a little bit below that $0.50. I'm going to go to 38s, and then we're going to stop out, break freaking even. Actually, we're not even going to stop break it. If it loses 69, I'm out. Simple as that. So we're doing it live on that. I need to focus on the other trade as well as VEEE. Rejecting 60 pennies, but you know what isn't rejecting 60 pennies? Do you know what isn't rejecting? WNW. We took 3R on that one as well, into the high, into 650. Big breakout right now on this one. Wow. It's really going. Oh my days. There it goes into 686. I love this one. There it goes into 686. The gas is on right now, or I shouldn't say that. The accelerator pedal is being hit. It's being hit quite hard.
Why shouldn't you say the gas is on?
I don't know, man. It just sounds, you know.
Okay, I see.
Yeah,
but I mean,
right.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying, right? Like,
I mean,
so we're keeping an eye out on this one. We're looking for the continuation through 7. Here it comes again. 86 just showed up again. It's 686 high. Feels like that's just going to get blown through any minute now. 85, 86. There was a seller at 86 again that just showed up. So be careful with that 86 penny level. There's a staunchy seller there, but you feel like he's on the ropes at the moment. We're going to keep an eye on that. Let's go back to VEE. We still have shares on this one, mind you. So we're in at 54s. Look, the prior bar low. Let's give prior bar low the look. Prior bar low, Joey, takes me down to stop. 53.50. We're gonna stop out. I know, right?
Big Tonka.
We're gonna stop out at 53.50.
Made me laugh, but you can't say that in the chat.
I know they take liberties, but I love them. I love them, right?
We'll laugh at it and we'll just delete the message.
All right. There goes WNW. It is halted to the freaking upside. 718 halt, Joey. Let's cut the crap and get down to work. 11:27:33 halt time. Earliest this will be open, 11:32:33. If you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about, you're just adding 5 minutes from the last print on your time in sales, because volatility halts come in waves of 5, 10, 15. It's the other type of halt, news pending, that we never really know when they're going to open. This one, we can know it's going to be in increments of 5, okay? So 718 is the halt price, and now the tap, the theoretical auction price, which is the auction taking place behind the scenes at the exchange, pairing buy and sell orders while it's halted, showing 707. That's going to continue to develop as the halt goes on, right? So we'll keep updating you on that. Yeah, man, I see you, the jack of all kings, my man. We're gonna keep an eye out on all these small cappers. You better believe it, because that's what we trade around here, Joey Opsh.
Yeah, trade the small caps. Gas in the city though, 208 a liter, 208 a liter for 93.
Oh, for 93, you
for 93.
Scared the hell out of me. I'm like, I just left my house this morning. I saw a 169
for 93. Right? That's a liter. My folks. All right, guys. So a nice little pullback, Gaurav. let's see, man. I'm not in love with this considering the downtrend is still fully intact, but we're positioned half decently. We told you 27s is our out, but we might get out a little bit earlier if it does want to crack, because then I can get a significantly better price right there. So, yeah, I mean, that's city living there, Mocha. But yeah, other than that,
get it, Mocha.
We have IBIT rejecting VWAP, and then we have almost a new high of the day on NVDA, but essentially we run into 185 once again and starting to come back in. I'm willing to sit in this trade, and if it really gets going on Tesla and we even come close to testing the HOD, then by all means, if I notice, which we're on the backside of that trend, that we're gonna kind of pick up that bid, then I'm gonna double up this position, because why not, right? Adair, what do you have for us? When we get back from Adair, we're gonna look at Tesla's options.
Bitcoin did surpass that 74,000 level. Now, we briefly breached above it on that day that we had that big rally a couple weeks ago on Wednesday, March 4th. But our high of this session was 74,500, currently pulling back a little bit. We are back below 74,000. We'll take a look at the weekly chart on BTC, because Bitcoin is poised for its third straight green week. Ethereum we'll take a look at here as well. Ethereum on the weekly, actually looking a little bit stronger than Bitcoin. Bitcoin kind of oscillating near that high from the week of March 2nd. Ethereum has broken well above that high. That high for Ethereum was 2,200. Currently, Ethereum trying to break into that 2,300 level. We'll take a look at the daily for Ethereum as well. And Ethereum, guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-day green streak for ETH. So this cannot be underestimated. Now, I do want to take a look as well at some of these crypto equities, because I've noticed as of late that these are not trading in tandem, and there was a point where they used to. So you have some of these miners here, MARA, bouncing off of intraday lows. We'll take a look at RIOT, pretty choppy, kind of oscillating around here. CLSK, I would say even more range bound here than what you're seeing with the likes of RIOT. Then if you look here at Coinbase, you're actually near intraday highs. Coinbase, one of the stronger of these crypto-related equities. MSTR, though, not nearly as strong and not nearly as close to its intraday highs. So long story short, these crypto equities continue to be trading in a way that's kind of divorced not only from Bitcoin and Ethereum themselves, but also from each other. Back to you.
All right, yeah, so guys, Orbs is starting to set up what here. Sharif was pointing this one out to me. This trend is holding up, so I'm willing to maybe take a little bit of an attempt on this if we do pull back here. I like this 5-minute candle, so good look. I know a lot of individuals are trading this one. Am I familiar with trading the small caps? No, not like Sharif, that's for sure. So if he's liking something, as NVDA is continuing to climb a little bit higher, a little bit of chop here in TSLL. But what I wanted to look at is there's nothing substantial other than at that 405 mark. I mean, 402.5, I don't think it's going to be too much of a worry in my opinion. So I like our chances for a little bit of a climb in Tesla, considering, right? Now we're at the top end of this range. We like that a whole bunch. So if I get into ORBS, what I would want to do is give it to probably 105. So that's 10 cents worth of risk. Why not? Let's get involved in this bad boy right here. 10 cents.
WNW is open. Sorry.
Okay, it was halted?
Yeah,
all
it's
right.
open now.
So 105 is plenty of room, and even if it breaks that 107 mark, then by all means. So let's get in here. Let's get involved, man. Scared money don't make any money around these neck of the woods. So let's put some size on that. I'm willing to add if the volume and we get a strong uptick. So maybe I should get something prepared just in case you get that flush or that clean push up. Participants really start to step in and then breaks through that high of the day, which will be primetime Deion Sanders. We're still in this Tesla position, but we're in Orbs too, having a little bit of fun with these small cap names.
Don't make me get buck in here. Okay, here we go, baby. There's a lot moving, guys, and the violence of the movement today is very, very unlike last week. WNW new high day 748, trying to hold 7. Doji candle currently forming on the 5, losing 7 momentarily. Nothing really to address here other than just volatility at the high of the day, and of course that $7 area, a little above, a little below, as the shorts position themselves, and the longs as well, man. So WNW, key area of support for me. I'm not saying it makes it down there, but a key area is going to be $6. couple of reasons. Price action resistance at 10.55. Couldn't shake that $6 seller you drop. Go down to 4.75. Hold the 10 EMA, and then the rocket ship takes off into that 748 high. So that is first and foremost. We're looking at 6, which is also kind of jiving. Here comes the high of the day, though, on WNW. I don't think this has any intentions of dropping down to 6. There it goes into another high day. Here comes 8. 773. The breakout is on. Current bar low is 677. Bar high is the day high at 7 3/4 on the dot. So this one is very, very aggressive, getting extended away from that 575 area where we see the 10 EMA on the 5 is. So be careful with WNW. There it goes, Joey, into 820. Neil was calling this one out earlier. He said I'd be all over it, and he was absolutely right. We got a good trade on this one, but we're not holding at the moment. It's got to set up in a different way. I'm not going to chase it at these levels. Just not the way I trade. WNW right now trying to hold above 820. So have we gotten far enough away from 7 that we can use 7 as support? Well, I wouldn't go ahead and say 7 as support, but I'd give it to prior bar low, right? So that you're continuing with the trend. I think that that's probably the wisest thing to do here. 677 prior bar low. That obviously necessitates you to risk about $1 given the current price, right? We're showing 67, so almost $1 worth of risk. You're going to have to factor that in because your stop can't go into an area that you like. It has to make sense with the price action. That is just a recipe to get stopped out in a good trade when you put your stop too close or in a random area that doesn't make sense from a technical analysis perspective. That's my view on that. You're going to have to place it at an area that makes sense, and usually placing it at an area makes sense when the price is extended means that you have to take less risk. Less risk, obviously, in this particular case, means less shares, and that means there's less upsides for you.
Sharif, let me
go ahead,
you
Joey.
for a second. Yeah, sorry about that, man. There's something going on here with Tesla, a massive volume spike here on the lower time frame.
Looking.
I shouldn't say massive, but there is an increase right now in volume on Tesla. So let's see, as the market is climbing higher, this isn't really participating, but maybe this volume has something to do with it. Sorry to interrupt you.
No worries, bro. Of course, that's more important, man, than my little pontifications there. Let me say something else. I'm really liking the look of CTMX's jib over here. Now it's trying to breach 8. It's got a good 3-candle higher low, higher high setup. It's encountering resistance at 8. Not surprised by that, even though the high of the day is 821. And we know for a fact that 8 area was a staunchy little bugger. Not least of which because we got into it at 7:05 a.m. and we couldn't shake the sellers there. We tried again at 8:15. We didn't quite make it up there at 9:50, but we got 7 3/4. And then even when we did get above 8 into that 821 double top there, 11:10 candle, 11:15 candle on the 5, we dropped all the way back down into 7 2/3. Mind you, though, we held support. That's the flat top, right? So very interested in CTMX. I like the look of this one as well. There's a lot going today, guys, and HCWB is going to lose its spot on the side chart for looks like here because it's setting up as a gnarly looking short. Someone was telling me to get the hell out of FAMI Q7, quit V soon. I don't disagree with you, brother. I don't. But I see some support here in the mid-50s. 58s, right? You're seeing some support at 59s. So what I've done is I've moved up my stop.
Oh.
Go ahead, Joey.
Okay. Oh, no, I didn't catch it. I'm like, this is the kind of the spike that I wanted to see on ORBS. You can see that Tesla's working for us, but then I seen a slight uptick in volume here on ORBS, and I tried to double up my position, but I was just a little slow to jump the gun. I wonder if this is going to be a false move, but the volume is starting to pick up in here. So what I can do, considering it's a slight chase, and if we're going to go and touch that high of the day, I want to add some more shares to it. Sorry, I'm talking about...
You're talking about orbs?
Orbs, baby.
Oh,
yeah.
my days.
I mean, we broke through the resistance zone. I just don't want it to be obviously a fake out, but we'll pull this up.
Your boy Joey.
A nice pop up above this resistance zone here, and it looked like it wanted to kind of get going, but I want more or less a momentum move and a strong aggressive spike. So maybe on a downtick, we add a little bit of shares, and then with that being said, we're gonna have to Yes, yeah, okay, I like that. Let's do this, man. What I say earlier, you got to put your money where your mouth. Ooh, okay, that's exactly what I didn't want. Volume stepping in. That was a big flush, man. These things are crazy. I doubled.
Yeah, bro.
As soon as I add 50%, flush
Welcome
to the
to the
downside.
world.
So that's not fun whatsoever. But it did have a nice spike. Maybe that was just a little bit of a liquidity grab, a fake out. Again, I'm gonna raise my stop a little bit. But if we can get going here and the volume starts to turn around there, then maybe we can be fortunate enough to get somewhat of a breakup. But this could be a lower high being established right there, Sharif.
All right, man. Yep, we got to go up to Adair.
Keep an eye on Dell here, guys. DELL reportedly set to unveil several substantial advancements to its Dell AI factory with NVIDIA. Now, this isn't a company that it's like super shocking to hear would be at GTC, but just be aware this could be a company to watch during the keynote. Now, during the GTC Washington event, which was in the late fall, I believe around October, we know that every time CEO Jensen Huang named a company, that stock would spike. So just be really aware here of the companies that are mentioned by NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang during this keynote. Excited to cover that for you guys. It will be starting around 2 p.m. Eastern. Back to you.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see who's sitting front row this year. Remember, we had a bunch of heavyweights last year. Your friend Altman was there, and Michael Dell, speaking of Dell that Adair just reported on, also was there. He's my friend, right? So we're going to see exactly who gets what contracts, what new deals, but it should be an interesting day today in NVIDIA world. So if you're not hanging out with us at 2 o'clock, then what are you doing, right? I mean, NVIDIA is the king of the chips at the moment, and what they announce kind of sets the tone for the entire market. So it behooves you guys to be with us. Adair is going to be covering it on the 1s and 2s. Neil, Sean, obviously, it's going to be during their show, so make sure to catch that with us. GTC, it's going to be 4 days, so it's going to be 4 days of madness, but we know the keynote is probably going to be the big one here with Jensen coming on the mic today, drop hot lines. We'll see what Jensen has to offer. I'm going to be all ears for anything inference related. Apparently, the theme of GTC is going to be CPUs, which is interesting because NVIDIA is known for GPUs and GPU inference workloads, right? So more on that. Guys, continuing to watch V here. There's a buyer at 57.5, but I'm also quite interested in maneuvering back into WNW. I wouldn't mind this one clearing 8 on a decisive basis, and then I can just give my risk to 7, so I'd risk $1. Obviously, you'd manage my share size to account for that greater, wider risk. Sorry, I'm putting it ineloquently here, but continue to watch WNW right now. It's not a bad look. My attention is split between WNW and VEEE. I was thinking about maneuvering into CTMX. Pardon me over here. I was thinking about maneuvering into there because it was showing me its intentions to take out $8 again. Alas, it takes out 8, puts a doji candle at a key area of technical resistance. And now this current 5-minute candle is breaching prior bar low. So you have a doji candle, and then you have a failure to breach the high of the doji candle, but you have the successful breaching of the doji candle low. Current bar low, 788, prior bar low, which is doji candle 99. So not much of a breach, but something to be on the lookout for there. CTMX is the one I'm talking about. I have very little else that I'm interested in other than those 3, WNW, CTMX, VEEE. I'm thinking about ORBS over here, but I'm starting to notice that there is selling a little bit above that 15 penny level. So we're starting to put in a bit of a pattern, an unclean pattern, mind you, of lower highs, but concurrently, we're also putting in higher lows. So we're getting a bit of a compression pattern here. You never really know how these ones are going to resolve. If you read the textbook will tell you.
Which one's that there?
Oh, ORBS.
Oh, Orbs.
Yeah.
What time frame is that? The 5?
The 5, my guy.
Oh, okay. I'm in this, man. I like the way that's looking.
I don't mind it at all. I don't mind it at all. I'm waiting for confirmation.
Oh, but it's not. Yeah.
It's zigging and zagging, Joey. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I don't mind the look of the structure at all. I think I don't want to speak for him, but this is like what Obi would say is holding structure. You got a very clear area of resistance for that initial bull flag. It looks to be about 108 to 110, right? We can't breach that on a multiple attempt basis, and then comes that 1105.
5 candle on the 5, you breach it, and now you're holding that prior area resistance. You're holding it now as support. So I don't mind the look of orbs at all. What I'm not liking is a look of VEEE. That is 2 topping tail candles in a row on the 5 that have lower highs. My patience is running out pretty quickly here with VEEE, not because I lack patience as an individual, but because this chart pattern is a no good. So what we're doing, we're gonna give prior bar low. That takes me down to 57.50. That ends the trade for me. This loses 57.50, we're gone Zeno. So we're gonna go 57.40 just to give it a little bit of room there, Joey, right? Okay. So that we don't lament having not, given it enough room. And that's the look. Let's go back to WNW. This one is making another attempt at 8. Here we go again. 789, I think, just showed up, 790. But you can see the resistance coming in at that level. But you also see the support at 7. And now you've got a bit of a consolidation area, a 3-candle consolidative look on the 5-minute chart. But look at that aggressive selling from 8 down into the 730s. Yeah, a lot of profit taking and or aggressive selling here. Shout out to my man, Cool Brioche. I've been liking that name a lot lately. One of a newer contributor, I think, anyway, from last week, UAMY. Say less, my friend. Let's have a look. So this is a former convict, as you can see, because we've put the ticker on this before. Let's flip to the 5. This is a good look, my man. Thank you for calling this out. CXAI just lost a spot on the side chart, and we're going to put UAMY on there. United States antimony. The antimony trade is alive and kicking as materials, of course, will be in focus between the meeting between President Trump and his counterpart, President Xi, slated to take, or slated to happen, I should say, at the end of this month. And quite frankly, I think we're also going to get interesting information from the pre-meetings, let's call it that, between Trade Representative Jameson Greer as well as, of course, the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who are meeting with their counterparts today. I think they're in Switzerland or something like that. Maybe we can verify that later, but that's going to be interesting. Paris, thank you, Adair. Speaking of Adair, we're going to her.
And speaking of China, Sharif, we actually just got some comments here as reported by Xinhua, so Chinese media, from He Lifeng, that is the Vice Premier of China, and he met, of course, with U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer. The second day of that meeting is today, of course, in Paris with regards to tariffs. So we do have Vice Premier, He Lifeng saying that the U.S. needs to remove its unilateral tariffs, though he also noted here that China and the U.S. have agreed to strengthen their dialogue and they want to, quote, properly manage differences. So again, ahead of these meetings with Xi and President Trump, we do have more outlines here in terms of what's being discussed by the other members of their teams.
Absolutely. All right, guys, so there's Tesla. We got a nice move up into 43 on TSLL, but it keeps rejecting this level. Should have took a little bit off, but now it's starting to come back in. Let's see if we can bounce off of VWAP and then maybe we continue. And if there's an add opportunity, as the market is still hovering around its highs, SPY a little bit weaker. And worst case scenario is that I think that here in the overall markets, guys, you can see SPY TQs, is that we failed to construct a new high, forming a lower high of the day, which can be really bad. And that means we can get a curl over and shoulder number 2 here on Tesla, as we're just almost right back at my entry point. Someone in the chat asked, like, hey, why is it that the moves lower are so much quicker than the moves up? If I knew the answer to that, then I think it's honestly, I don't know if it's necessarily participants stepping away or more or less stepping in, right? So if you have a steady grind higher, like something that's a little bit more slow, maybe we can classify this as a cover rally. But then if the flushes to the downside are more rapid and quick, then you can say it's participants stepping in, and the inverse, right? Like if it's a slow grind lower and then you really start to squeeze higher, it's more or less profit taking, and then you have the buyer stepping right back in. That's how I would personally look at it. Am I right? Absolutely no idea. I don't think any of us can say 100% what is going on unless you're a market maker or something along those lines. But as for orbs, guys, we are heading towards the high of the day. Hopefully this is just an accumulation phase, and then we can punch through this 122 mark. That's the ideal trade plan for this specific name, but you can see the liquidity starting to really fall into issues. So one large participant stepping in, I think we can punch through. So we want that momentum and that volume to kick up, and then we're kind of just chopping around this neck of the woods. If we climb higher, if NVDA wants to participate in a rally here today, then sure enough, I think Tesla's going to do the exact same thing, considering, yeah, we're right back up to 116s. That's where we bought some. I mean, we're not very much in the money when I got 15s there, and I added 50% more at that strong uptick, but it doesn't seem like it wants to have any form of a follow through. So that's what I got going on. I feel like you want to say
Orbs?
something. Yeah, Orbs, but you're not in Orbs.
I printed aggressively here on WNW.
Okay,
I was very happy about that. No, but I want to.
Orbs is failing.
Eh?
Orbs is failing.
I don't. Can I say
Yeah,
something? I disagree.
2 cents.
I disagree.
Okay.
This is not bad at all. Like, it's dropping in volume, which I know you don't like.
Yeah.
And I get that. But this is still quite. This is an epic battle.
Yeah, it is a big time battle. What I'm thinking here, Sharif, is if we get that large participant to step in and buy it up, then it can break that kind of that wedge, bull wedge.
That's number one. Number two, structure still holding. Number three,
Yeah,
when you
big
look
time.
at it, like, you have to look at the minutia. Obviously,
Yeah.
you're looking at these doji candles. The
Yeah.
doji candles to me screams of equilibrium, right?
Yeah.
Buyers, sellers,
Buy.
and they're meeting an equilibrium. Just 1 second, Assassino. And then what we're doing also is we're putting in marginally higher lows on every successive 5. So I don't necessarily hate this. And you know what? To be quite honest with you, if we're gonna hold prior bar low, 114 is the current level. Prior bar low takes us to 112.5. That's an acceptable risk parameter for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Anyway,
I'm out at 10s.
I like that as well. All right, we got to go back up to Adair.
Spike on Apollo here. APO following a post from Citrini. Now, if you remember Citrini, that's the group that flagged probably like a month or so ago now some concerns here with AI going forward up to like, I think 2028 or 2038. But either way here, we do have Citrini pointing out that Apollo saw, quote, the writing on the wall with regards to private market concerns much earlier than others and already moved to reduce their software exposure due to potential AI risks over a year ago. As such, Citrini actually says if they had to go long or buy the dip in any of these private credit names, APO would be their choice. As such, you do get a spike into APO. So again, Citrini, who has been kind of a little bit more cautious here about software and specifically AI risks, is saying that they like APO out of any of these private credit and financial names. Back to you.
Fly high, you know this. Ballin', there goes WN frickin' W. The only thing that disappoints me about this, why does the price stop out at 868? You know we need that 869. All right, we got to pack the patient, but there is the high of the day again. 878, it's all gas, no brakes, guys. This one looks like it's headed to 10. Trade it carefully, enter the right setups with the right risk. The stop has to go at a key technical area, not these random areas. What's going on Adair?
Another headline here, this one coming from Iran. Iran's Revolutionary Guards saying that they're going to be targeting U.S. industries within the region in the coming hours. They're also asking people to evacuate nearby areas. So here's the market. Take a look at oil for you guys. USO not moving too much, but again, looks like Iran will be targeting U.S. industries in the Middle East in the next few hours. Back to you.
All right, good look there on the small caps. Thank you for that, Adair. We're still looking at Tesla here. Really start to chop, guys. Maybe we eliminate some of the noise and go to a higher time frame and see what we got going on. The market is starting to come back in, so that's not the best sign. We run right into resistance and then we immediately sell off. So we'll mark that on. And then also Orbs is really coming into the lower end of that trend. So if it does break and hold, I told you 110, considering is going to be my out. Big volume spike, and there it goes. Failed breakout to 111. Maybe that's just a flush out. We'll hold it for as long as we can, but as soon as that bid hits 110, then we're going to get out of dodge on this one and not hold on to it for too much longer. Strong up move is what we're going to need in order for us to hold on to this trade. Let's get in here and show you and display. So let's see if we can get that uptick in which we're kind of holding on to right now. So, okay. Oh, I was looking at the wrong tape. I'm like, oh, what? It's printing that? No,
yeah,
it's not. Yeah. So it did kind of break down right there. It was forming this shelf. Wasn't in love with it, and then now we're on the backside of that trend. So that's something that we have to take into consideration. And then also on the 5-minute, guys, you can see that this is going to be the largest volume print right here, and that's an inverted hammer candle. So I think that's going to probably be a single attempt on this one, and then we'll avoid it. So other than that, Tesla not doing too much. We did have a nice move up into 44, but I'm not looking to take a couple of pennies on this. Looking for significantly more, and there it goes. I think we'll get stopped out of this here momentarily, so we'll keep our eyes on it and see if that's going to come into play. Strong up flush. Come on, someone step in. Volume, 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 volume. If there's another opportunity, then like again, I said it may be the only attempt, but if it displays itself and says, hey, we're ready to re-engage these shelves. I don't love these, right? Like, and I don't like them in any, whether it be a small cap, large cap, mega cap. It doesn't matter. A shelf like this, I want to see more clean ebb and flow, and then a strong breakup. So if this bull flag fails, we're out of dodge. Bitcoin is selling inverted hammer candle right at VWAP, and now it is down significantly from that 41.87 mark.
974 high of day getting tested again. Here comes 10. Okay, we are off 979 now. We are awfully close to 10. This is what I would call the 10 region. 986, that is the high of the day. Now we need to be on the lookout for real resistance, okay? $10 is a very, very clear area. 4 shorts to get long, or sorry, 4 shorts to get in, pardon me. 4 longs to start liquidating their positions. 986 high, coming back down now into 9 1/3. You know, never really want this to turn, but it's a key technical area. And to be quite honest with you, I don't want to sound so down about, you know, trying to get long here, but especially since we're trading near the high of the candle, quite frankly. We're at 947, the high of the day is 986. Current bar low is 794. So it's got almost a $2 worth of range on this current 5-minute candle. So very, very strong and a lot of liquidity behind it. Over 3 million shares on this one 5-minute candle alone here on WNW. So good look coming back into 9 1/3. You know, I think we can probably take another attempt here at $10 breach. But I like that key area of technical breakout. I want to say it's between like 8 1/4 to 8 1/2. Look at the candle at 11:30. Look at the candle at 11:45. They both top out in and around that 8:30 to 8:50 area. So that is something to look out for there. WNW is a monster and single-handedly, you know, kind of keeping the small cap gapper world really active here because V's breaking down. CTMX is doing bupkis. ORBS is annoying a little bit. HCWB is breaking down and then some. ACXP still looking good though. So maybe I can show you guys that. ACXP, much slower of a mover. If you don't like these fast-paced ones like WNW, this one looking awfully bull flaggish. And if I could make the case that it looks like a tilted upward channel, completely normal for bull flags. My suggestion always is when the chart pattern looks like this is to trade it as a range until it tells you I'm no longer a range, whether that's because it broke down aggressively below the lower trend line or breaks out and really starts going above the upper trend line, in which case is good for you. So ACXP in focus. There goes WNW down. 986 is all it is for small cap gapper purposes. It's essentially 10. Okay, we can't nickel and dime these ones. They're too volatile, right? Doesn't mean we won't take it out. We still have a higher low on this current candle. So a lot of long still fighting here. And look at that clean hold off that 8 1/2, 845. Joey, we're talking about, you know, those 2 candles finding support at 8 1/3. Rockets back up. So if you're looking for a scalp trade, there it was. You took 50 pennies and then some here on WNW. So going to keep an eye out on that. I'm also looking at UAMY, a bit of a deeper retracement now. This is a good look, though, on UAMY. And shout out to the trader who mentioned this one to me in the chat. Why do I say that? Because look at that prior area resistance. It looks like to be 10 3/4, right? Looks like the prints kind of closed below 70, but the wicks got into about that 3/4 area. Alas, we make it up almost to 11, 1097. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles now with lower highs, coming into that key area of technical resistance, prior resistance, now hopefully support 10 3/4. Don't need to get in right away because you're going to have to give this a lot of room. If you do, right, you get in 1075, what's the next level of support? It's around 1050, and quite frankly, you're going to have to give it more than that because that 1110 candle takes you to a low of 1045. So what I'd say is wait for the trend to change. Wait for that first 5-minute candle to make a new high so you know, one, that other buyers are stepping in at the area you're thinking about, in this case, 10 2/3, 10 3/4. And then you also see proof that the volume is coming in and you can ride trend. I get it gives you a worse price, but to me, that is always a good trade-off to get a worse price and to wait for confirmation. That's just my style.
I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's a look there, Joey. WNW still fighting here, trying to get back above. Nah.
All right, so yeah, this is what we were talking about. I got out of both of the positions here. So we'll give back what we made on NVDA. You don't really have buyers stepping in, more or less a cover rally, and then sellers step in and now starting to push price. Lower the momentum and the volume really started to pick up. So I'm like, there's no point in me trying to hold on to this, especially if price action and with the volume by time profile is telling us as the market failed to establish a new high of the day. So you form that lower high, sellers step in, and then now you're heading towards a key neckline. If that breaks, then maybe we get a little bit more downside here. And if we look at the grand scheme of things, we're just stuck within this range, right? I mean, we haven't really been doing too much for quite some time, and that's kind of the choppy price action that we fall into. This was a really nice print on the 5-minute as IBIT takes a little bit of a step lower. We head over to just get the Qs up here, might as well. See what we got going on here from a daily. I think essentially, right, it's the same narrative. I had a strong hunch that we were going to do exactly this. I'm like, okay, yesterday on Friday we have that strong selling session. I wouldn't be surprised if we gap, like we did gap up, right, and then we fail to break this and start to come in a little bit here. What we're seeing from the intraday, I think that's kind of be the narrative. I don't think we break Friday's high, and I think we do head back towards the lower end of the range. We do have a big time gap up. Maybe it just wanted to absorb some liquidity. I mean, I wouldn't say big time. I guess 595 down to 593. So a couple of points. But I think at this point, if we do break 599, then there might be a little bit more downside, especially if we want to continue to curl over in NVDA and in Tesla. Good support level. This head and shoulders, I mean, it is a little deformed, but you can just, I just got the hunch. I'm like, if we don't climb higher here as the market was giving a little bit more of a squeeze, shoulder one, head, shoulder two, and then sure enough, boom, volume upticks on the lower time frames, and then now we start to head a little bit lower, all right? So that's it. We take the loss on Tesla. We take the loss on ORBS. Small win on NVDA. We give a little bit back. Plenty of opportunity throughout the day, but we'll be patient to see which direction the market decides it wants to go. Strong opening drives across the board and no follow through whatsoever, really, since the first hour of the session. If we do form any indecision prints around these lows, hopefully buyers start to step back in, not necessarily just a cover rally, and we can look for long opportunities on that. But guys, it's time for Happening Now, and then Neil with this lesson of the day.
We do have some lower highs here on this market, but this 599 level continuing to hold as support for the Nasdaq. S&P 500 looking kind of similar here, though slightly higher low for the SPY. Now, we do have some events coming forward to talk about. President Trump set to give a press conference at some point in the near future around this time. There is a stream on the White House YouTube channel. It's open, but last time I checked, it hasn't actually been started yet, so I'm continuing to keep an eye on that. Once I start hearing things, I'll let you know. USO bouncing a little bit here. We do have some news coming out of Iran. We have comments from Iran's Revolutionary Guard saying they're going to be targeting U.S. industries in the region in the coming hours and asking people nearby to evacuate. Then you have ORBS on watch here. Of course, both Sharif and Joe involved in this name. ORBS got an investment here from BitMine Immersion. They've got an $83 million stake in 8Co, which is ORBS. But then ORBS got a nice midday spike after they basically posted on X hyping the company saying, we're a good way to get involved with OpenAI because we're invested in OpenAI. So nice job there to the ORBS social media team. I also want to mention, and how could I forget this and how could I neglect this, NVIDIA, GTC 2026. Now, I'm not going to have an official schedule that I'm going to be posting here on X at TTV Research because the way they post their schedule is A, a little bit convoluted, and B, there are some events that are only like 5 minutes long, so there's not a lot to get out of this. However, I will be posting on X every day, like the main public companies to be aware of. Here's a list of all of the sponsors and exhibitors that are public companies that you can expect to find at GTC 2026. And in 2 hours from now, I will be here on this here desk, and I will be presenting to you guys the Jensen Huang keynote. I will be presenting it, rather, but I'll be reporting on it for you guys. You can find this infographic on X at TTV Research, along with many, many others. But enough about me, enough about Jensen. We'll get to him later. We're going to go over right now to Neil. It's been a week, but he's back and better than ever with another lesson of the day.
Thank you, Adair. We're back with the lesson of the day, and this one's going to be about not being stubborn because the market doesn't really let you be stubborn. sometimes like almost everything you touch, win, lose, or draw, like it can work, but it doesn't quite go as far as you might want. The move doesn't sustain or last. And in a market which did what it did today, and let me just actually let's start with the Cube before I even get into Tesla, and before I even talk about like Intel, and before I even talk about like iBit and some of the names we're looking at today. When the market has a day like this, I'm just going to pull up the Qs. Like you were gapped up, and for the most part, if we just look at how range bound we've been, it's easy to get chopped up. It's easy to not see a bunch of follow through. On Thursday and Friday, you had very distinct, big moving downtrends, right? So we look at what the market was, if we can come to my chart, if we look at what the market was last week to end it, it's like, look at that downward trend. If you were short, you were reloading, you were winning. If you were short, you're reloading, you're winning. The open is here on the Nasdaq. This is the entirety of the day. You're not gonna get a lot of follow through. So a lot of times, you have to have the ability to where, oh, was a breakout on Tesla through that 4-1 in the 15-minute part of the jam? Sure. Did it do anything past the initial break? Barely. Did it end up holding on the way back? No. Did it set up any kind of a re-entry into the long? No, it just didn't. And if you're stubborn about it, like, but that's where I like the breakout in Tesla, maybe I get chopped up trying that long again. I don't, because we end up in a choppy day and it never really shows any strength outside of that opening push. Sometimes that's just how it is. And you can't sit there and you can't fight it. If it's not there, or the move is just going to be a small one, or it's going to be a range-bound day, it does mean you have to exit dodge. Could I have known it was going to be a short? Not really. But you got to play it for what it is. And then the other, probably the even better example of this is I came in today thinking, all right, we're going to be dip buying because the market's gapped up and been relatively weak, so you're going dip buy. Intel's one of the strongest stocks out there, blah, blah, blah. We're going to buy back into these resistance levels. There was never a dip there. There still hasn't been. And ultimately, the first trade I made was a short, because you have to be able to trade what is out in front of you. And you heard me say this. If you watch the morning show, you probably know what I'm going to say next. Yes, I wanted it to be a buy the dip into the prior high and then go from there. But you know what actually happened? What actually happened is on this 15-minute, you had a big-time rejection of this top. Right? You had a huge rejection of last week's highs off the open, monster move, and a reversal. That's a failed breakout. Well, it's a failed breakout on the 15-minute. It puts in a lower high under VWAP. I play that trade to the low. Your plan of action is all well and good. You've scanned your charts. You've looked at your in-plays. You have an idea of what you expect to happen. In Tesla, the breakout that I was looking for did happen, but couldn't quite go any further than a couple of dollars. So that's what we take. In Intel, the dip buy doesn't emerge, but a different setup, because I'm watching the stock, a different setup shows up, and it's a short one into that open price, and that's what we end up taking. So you do have to listen to the market for a couple of reasons. One, because you could end up, if you just stick to your, well, I think this is a long, and it's just sitting there showing shorts all day long, well, then you're fighting the grain. The other side of it, of course, is that just because it's working doesn't mean it's going to be a home run. There'll be plenty of singles like Tesla. There'll be singles like Oxy was for me. And you've got to be able to take those, right? A good, disciplined, here I'll use the example. I'll use a football analogy. Usually I use like baseball or something. But I'll use a football analogy. Why Tom Brady is the GOAT in football has nothing to do with whether he's the most fun person to watch. He's not. Because you'd much rather see Matthew Stafford throwing bombs with his arm talent, or Lamar scrambling around, or Josh Allen doing both, because only he can do both the way that he does. But what you will see Tom Brady do is whatever is out in front of him, he will make the correct decision, and he'll throw to the right receiver. And he'll put it in the right spot, and he'll move the chains, and he'll boringly do so over and over and over and over again until he's won and they've won another championship. And his stats won't look as gaudy necessarily. Sometimes they do, not always. But he just racks up those W's. And sometimes when you get this kind of a day in the market, where it's a very much inside day in the futures, there is no follow through, you come in expecting fireworks, You just sit there and take what the market gives you. And if a stock that you like to the long at a key price level is setting up as a short, you take the single on the short if that's what you got. So a lot of times we see this kind of choppy action, and you can sit there fighting it over and over again. But I saw this morning where, I mean, I've been away a week, so I can't tell you how quickly people were getting into trades last week between Sean and Obi, but I can tell you that for the first few minutes, neither one of us was in anything. And I was perfectly fine not to be in anything because nothing really had set up. So that level of patience to understand when you don't get crazy volatility in the overall market, it requires you to be even more disciplined. If the other team is playing some boring zone defense, you just got to sit there and you got to pick it apart. You got to do what you got to do. That's what the market was this morning. Feels like it could be that until we got the president speaking, we got Jensen at 2. Maybe that's what we're waiting for. But you know what? If you take the singles while they're there, then you've banked a little bit of profit going into what could be a more volatile afternoon, and then you're within striking distance of getting the W, which is what we're all about. You're just here to make money as a trader, so don't fight that trend. Be patient. Understand that every winning trade won't be a home run, and also understand that you don't have to be married to the initial direction you thought a stock was going to go if it's showing you the opposite. Thankfully, I didn't fight Intel today. That would have hurt me had I, and we all have to learn that lesson. I haven't touched the lunch yet, so I can't tell you how it is, but I will now, and I'll let you know in the chat how the salmon is. Good luck in the rest of your trading, everybody. I think we're going to Adair before we head back to the boys.
Keep an eye here on GeoOGL. We heard earlier NVIDIA and Dell partnering up here. Now, Google Cloud announcing they're going to be expanding their AI innovation across industries with NVDA. I'm also getting comments here from Merz, Chancellor of Germany, saying that they will not be participating in the conflict in the Middle East, and they will also not participate in securing the Strait of Hormuz, which we know President Trump would like these countries to do. Furthermore, he says he doesn't even know a concept for doing so. So Chancellor Merz speaking out against joining this conflict here in Iran. I also want to add here, GeoOGL, another announcement. Their project spend caps are going to be having here in Google AI Studios. So some Google AI and Google Cloud announcements coming from, you guessed it, GeoOGL. Back to you.
Very much for that, Adair. Yes, going to be very, very interesting, guys. No afternoon rundown today. Adair is going to be covering the GTC conference at 2 o'clock. So any of the breaking news items, we're going to have to live in living color. You needn't worry about us talking about anything else. It's going to be GTC. More GTC. Well, we'll see if then maybe there's other important news too. We can't completely ignore it, Joey. There goes WNW into $10 on the dot. Now, this range per 5-minute candle is really opening up here on WNW. Not like it wasn't already wild. It is. It's dollars at a time. $10 high in the prior bar, 846 prior bar low. This candle just opened up. I think we're about a minute deep. Not much of a range on this one. Looks to be 50 pennies or so. Dropping back down now. So watch out here. This could be yet another consolidation area here on WNW. I was telling the options boy that if this one breaks $10 and breaks $10 decisively, the shorts can be in a lot of trouble here. But right now, they are defending $10 quite well. 986 was a prior high, and then this candle at 1205 got us to 10, but we're still at 9.25 now. So be on the lookout here. I think this one, if it clears 10 decisively, it's got a lot more. I remember somebody in the chat, forget who, sorry, can't shout you out. You were saying something about 14 being where this one could end up weaseling into. So let's do a little TA, Fabian. Let's find out if that $14 is accurate or what's the situation. So this doesn't look good, obviously, but many small cap gappers do look like this. Yeah, I know, right? Man, I missed the price. What's it called? Yeah, the price is right. So, we did a 20-for-1 back in April. I want to say April of last year. That's the last one. This one, last time, I should say, this reverse split. But there is certainly, so I do agree with the person saying 14. Couldn't agree more. It's 14 to 15. Take a look at that base of support, essentially from, as far back as my chart goes here, let's say September
2024 all the way until when we really got past it, December of 2024, when this thing rocketed up to 70 for a period of days. So if this one clears 10, we could be headed to 15. I think that is a very apt observation. 14 to 15, I would say. I get 14 as the lower end of the range, so completely agree with you there. But, I think, there looks to be more support at the $15 level, but we're kind of, I don't think we're disagreeing at all. It's just maybe I'm a bit more bullish there. So WNW has to be in focus for you here if you're trading small cap gappers and you don't mind these aggressive moves. It's certainly holding up the best. Your boy Joey Opsh, I think, had something here with ORBS. There's a range happening here. Most of the time it's defending 110, and then most of the time it's also rejecting 117, 118. So you can pack the patience there. There goes WNW, Joseph, into 1041. That's a breach again of a prior bar high and a breach of the prior intraday high, which was $10 on the dot. But as you can see, the profit takers and the shorts, they're still quite aggressive in pushing the price action down below $10. We'll have to see who wins out. But right now, if you had to bet, I think Polymarket would probably go my way here. You be betting on the longs because we keep putting in higher lows. And in this case, higher highs. So WNW trying to work back above $10. Going to keep on this one. There it goes into 1020. So the breakout could be on here. It's a 1041 high. It still hasn't closed. Any 5-minute candles above 10, mind you. So let's not get too excited. But it's got the potential. And if it's going to have the potential, then we have to trade it. So we're going to keep an eye on WNW.
All right, man. Yeah, let's get back involved here in some of these names. One thing to note is that we have these strong moves to the sell side, and then now we're starting to form those 3-bar plays. And with that being said, I'm not in love with the long, and I like what Neil was talking about earlier. It's just like, hey, if it's not displaying, hey, you have to take this short, you have to, then don't fight the trend. And I think it's best we go with the flow. We're going to go to Adair in one moment. Look at this trend line here on NVDA, consistent higher lows. But if we open on the 5-minute south of this, maybe you'll get somewhat of a short. Just be cautious. You can use this previous pivot as a potential out, and if it forms a lower high, then that'd be even better. You get in at the higher end of the range. It slowly starts to curl over like it displayed not too long ago, about a half an hour or so ago, and then you get that aggressive move right to the volume weighted average price, and now you're trading south.
President Trump is going to speak soon.
Adair.
Okay.
He's just started his speech. As I was going to talk, they were playing the entry music. Now he has sat down. I will keep you guys posted here with any and all updates that are market related. Back to you.
Thank you for that.
And then
Wow.
here's a Bitcoin. Right, so we're getting that higher low. If it breaks that lower end of the range, then you have a good opportunity to get out. 20 cents, I think, is even more than enough room. You could probably give it to 45s at this point, and then if it heads back towards the volume-weighted average price. But again, look at the volume starting to stair-step down on the 5-minute time frame, right? So that just displays there's not that much buying pressure in it, and then you can see the strength within the selling pressure, significantly more than what we're experiencing on the opposite side. I do like the continuation on the long, to be honest with you, but what we need is an increase in that volume in order for us to have somewhat of a sustained move. 50 could even be a good out if it breaks that. Let's get involved. Yeah, and there's a strong uptick. Don't want to get caught in these fake outs, but why not, right? Like, we'll give this thing 10 cents, maybe even a little bit less, but let's get involved in some Bitcoin to see if we get a move back to VWAP. If it cracks, then maybe we flip the position as well, too, and go short for a potential test of the low of the day. And I'm getting that hunch that the market is giving short vibes right now, because 668 on the SPY, that breaks. I'm going to suspect an additional leg lower, and it's the same narrative over here on the TQQQ. So tough look. Yeah, so there goes Tesla, almost putting in a new low of the day. Not too bad of a look there. Yeah, WNW is off to the races.
There it goes, man. 271, and I'm loving Case. Case is like, welcoming it. She's like the welcoming party to the different price levels. Welcome to 12. Welcome to 13. Here we go, man. 1271. Shout out to Johnny. Thank you, Johnny, for pointing out that $14 level. More right you could not be. Well, we haven't quite made it into 14, but 1271 is a good start, and you feel that 1271 level is going to give way freaking soon. We're up almost 600% on this name, and now it's turning into a bit of a short squeeze. The shorts are running scared. I was telling Joey,
off camera, if this breaks through 10 and breaks through 10 decisively, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. Looks like they're $3 out of trouble or in trouble right now. $13 high. Here it goes again. There it goes, 13.04, Joey. This one could see 14 sooner rather than later. Trade it carefully, guys, because it can turn around in a heartbeat, and as quickly as you're in the money, as quickly as you can be out of the money. Adair.
There are some comments coming through here from President Trump. USO moving around a little bit here. Trump saying that the U.S. achieved a 95% reduction in Iran drone attacks, saying they've struck more than 7,000 targets and that their anti-aircraft equipment is quote-unquote decimated. I also need to let you know how he said this is going to go is he's going to give his comments mostly on the Middle East. He might take a few questions and then they'll move into the Kennedy Center board meeting part of the proceedings. So once we get past the Q&A section of this, I'll let you guys know. So that is, at that point, effectively going to be done. Back to you.
Sitting right next to him is Susie Wiles. To his left, he did announce that she sadly has been diagnosed with breast cancer. He said she's got a great team, and, you know, we wish her all the best, obviously. You know, it's a disease that spares nobody and, you know, no families or anything like that. So I can speak to that. Plenty of that in my family, sadly. But, yeah, we wish her the best. And yeah, she's wearing pink. So shout out to Susie Wiles. 13.52. Not a good look here. Okay, dropping back down to 12.5. Let's see if this one can work up into 14. We're going to continue to watch WNW, but there's got to be profit taken somewhere, baby. We can't hold this forever. Up over 600, I think, and 50% at the highs, but it's dropping quite aggressively right now into 1180. I see support at 10. If it comes into 10, I think there is a trade there, at least for a scalp. And maybe he doesn't continue on to 14, but hey, use a smaller time frame. Try to, you know, spot where the buyers and sellers are stepping in. Like I've talked about many times, I use the 5-second chart up on my top screen to kind of see where the buyers are stepping in, where the sellers are stepping in, any repetitive areas that I may have missed on the level 2, because the level 2 is super transient. And to spot, you know, where it turns. So, for example, look at these two 5-second candles there, about 10 seconds worth of support at 11.75. And there it goes, holding now that $12 area. Comes into 12, momentarily holds it, pops up at 12.75, still substantially below that 13.52 high. So be on the lookout here for WNW. Another thing that I've been doing lately is using the multi-time frame look, right? Now, I don't quite put the 5-second chart on the multi-time frame, but I do put the 1, the 5, the 15, and the hourly, just to give me an idea, is there multi-time frame confirmation for some of the trades that I'm looking for? It's easy to become super myopic and look and fixate on the chart that you've got up in front of you, but the other wider time frame or even a smaller time frame could be telling you a bit of a different story. So that's something that I've been trying to incorporate as well. And then separately, I was talking to Jose back there in the kitchen.
Jose.
A guy that we know, you know, he's one of the coders in the Algo room, part of the Algo boys back there. So I was telling him, I'm like, the trade calculator is great, but with the way that these small cap gappers move, it just doesn't give me enough time for me to get my calculations. So I'm going to weasel in on a Saturday. I think I'm going to come into the office on a Saturday so that I could have access to P8, and then I can incorporate the vibe coding with the API and do like real tests.
Did he say you could?
He comes in on Saturday and Sunday.
No, not Saturday, but like implement that.
Oh, he thinks it's easy.
Yeah?
He thinks, yeah. He uses Chow's. Chow wrote one.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
but it's completely different than the one that I want.
Exactly. Yeah. I know Chow.
Yeah.
I sent him some code and they put that into.
They did,
Yeah.
Is it the one that you sent me?
Yeah.
That's smart, man.
So they put that in there.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, if it was that easy, I think we would have it. I don't understand why we don't have it. I just don't think it's that. I don't know how.
I think it's great. I think it makes
it's great, but no, I'm saying into PA.
I agree,
right? Like because it's like, why don't you have something?
I completely agree. I figured, you know, especially on a trading floor where risk has to, you know,
is number one.
It's number one. One of the, I would say, the top things for sure.
Yeah.
And you know, risk per trade is like a metric that I think a lot of traders use. And I think
you have to.
Exactly. Right. It probably makes sense to have it in the software.
What else would you use if you're not doing risk per trade? pray. What else are you doing? Just
Punch and
caution.
pray?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah.
Punch and
risk
pray.
per trade or punch and pray. That's your strategy. I mean, the punch and pray sometimes works, man.
Yeah, but who wants to live that way,
who
bro?
wants to live that way? Some people live on the edge, man. Put it in the chat. Do you risk per trade or do you punch and pray?
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I would love to see. I don't no, but honestly, Sharif.
Yes, sir.
I don't bother praying, says somebody.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, that's crazy. No, but in all, you know who the punch and pray individuals are? The like $1.8 billion or whatever liquidation in Ethereum and all the liquid. That's the
leverage
punch.
plays.
Yeah, you
The
know what I mean.
leverage
Those are the
plays.
punch and prayers. Unfortunately, a full send punch and pray. Full send. What are you, a Canadian? There? Are you from Toronto or something along those lines? 80% strategy, 20% fun. Says Requiem. All right, good stuff. But there goes Tesla, guys, taking that additional leg lower. I talked about the support levels, and then we also have NVDA cracking through that downtrend as well. So a lot going on. We're moving to the south side. Bitcoin still holding this trend line, so not too bad of a look. If we get indecision prints on Tesla, I'm going to throw caution. Well, actually, I am. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to throw caution to win, see if we can get somewhat of a small move back into this resistance zone. But I need to see those indecision prints on lower time frames. Where's my boy Gorav at? Where's Lost Polars? I haven't seen you guys. Mike Peter Ryder, what were you guys trading here today? I need to know because I'm curious and I want to know what other tickers you guys are looking at. We tried the Orbs. Is it continuing? What's Orbs doing? Oh,
it
slow,
looks good, Joe, man. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I can't squeeze at any given moment. It's giving me that feel. So you keep getting those buyers stepping in and just lifting price slowly. But what I'm really looking for is an attempt here on Tesla, considering if we can hold that opening drive, higher lows on IBIT as it's now sitting on the north end of a range. I like that one. And then also an indecision print south of a trend line on NVDA, Adair.
Yeah, what we have here, Joe and Sharif and everybody, is this move up here in USO. President Trump saying that US is now #1 in oil by double. So Trump commenting here on oil. He also said that Venezuela is, quote, a tremendous oil source. Now, meanwhile, we also still have comments coming from Chancellor Merz of Germany saying that, quote, bringing about regime change through bombs will not likely succeed. Back to you.
Wait, yeah, well, there it is.
I'm trying to make a comparison. Like, listen, I know Donald Trump, he speaks, sometimes he does things, but then when he talks, it's like, man, you can't take everything he says. For what
yeah, so that's the old adage, right?
You know what I mean?
Take him seriously, but don't take him literally.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, yeah,
like,
the old adage.
Like, what he says is somewhat accurate, but yet it's so far off.
The pets.
I'll never forget that moment in my life.
They're eating
That
the
was the
pets?
debate with Kamala Harris. You don't remember this?
No, play it again. I didn't hear it.
Oh,
They're
man.
eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
I'll never forget that
talking about-
moment
was he
for
talking about
as long.
China?
No, bro, he was talking about the wave of, let's call them migrants coming from the
because
southern
that
border.
One lady from Haiti was eating the cat, right? So, I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it is what it is, man. Chaotic world we live in
my God.
at times. Internet never loses. But yeah, aside from that, guys, we're going to continuously be looking at these same names. Downtrend broken on multiple occasions. This is still holding up. If Bitcoin sits on the backside of this, NVDA, boom, down to the downside, and then you can see that the SPY is now putting in a new low of the day. I think it's only moments away until we see a new LOD on the Q's LOD being low of the day. And there it goes, just tapped into it and got somewhat of a rebound. So keep an eye out on this as Tesla's continuing to bleed its own blood.
Bleeding to the downside. Guys, make sure if you are not subscribed yet and you want that, good morning note, hit that or scan that QR code. It'll take you into the YouTube page where you can sign up $5 a month. Pretty good deal. We're going to use the morning note, of course, for the afternoon news segment. So make sure to get that. Now comes with a bias.
No, that one girl was eating, Loon, that one lady was eating a cat. Like, there's video of it, of her eating the cat.
Oh, my God.
Like a lot.
All right,
Like,
let's just change the subject, bro.
I'm just saying.
I know, I'm the one that brought it up, but, well, I'm not. They played the animation there. Oh boy. All right, guys, WNW, this is trouble here. 3 topping tail candles in a row into 1352. So Johnny, Look, to me, 13.52 on a name that's moving this way is close to a 14 touch. So good on you. You were right. I was wrong, at least for the moment. I had a bias that this one was going to head to 15. It doesn't look like for the moment anyway. Coming back down. Now, the question is, with this aggressive selling, are you guys going to be stepping in at $10? Because that's the area we were looking at, right? So let's load up. Let's get ready on a trading screen here to take a look at 10. Are there going to be buyers stepping in aggressively at 10? I'm flipping to the 5-second chart on my top screen. For the moment, yes, there are aggressive buyers. So if you want to get 10 1/3, you give this down into about $10. Now, I wouldn't suggest giving it to right $10 because it can wick below, right, and then move its way right back up, especially a name this volatile. But this is a great buy, at least for the moment, at 10. It comes down into, I want to give you the exact price, 10.10, and here comes 11. That's almost $1 in the money. There goes 11. 11.10 now. Current bar high is a decent range, 12.31 high, 10.10 low. So this candle goes green if we can reclaim 12 1/3, up 520%. A lot of strength on this one, but still, even if we're seeing strength right now, it is still a downtrend. 2 lower highs in a row and 2 lower lows in a row, but that clean area of $10 support coming in for the moment. Now, I do perceive some aggressive selling. And I want to say the selling on the 5-second chart looked to be, just following this downtrend here. It wasn't at any one level. Like you can see, 12.75 seller, and then they get more aggressive at 12.40, here at 12 1/4. So the lower high is kind of pronounced there. Now, if we move, as I said, above 12 1/3, then that would definitely put this candle green, which is turning into a bottoming tail candle right now, and a clean hold off that $10 area. That's 11.60, I think 4 we just got into there, 11.71. So that's about $1.75 you just got off that $10 area of support. So that's a great scalp. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to continue up from here, but that's a good intraday move. It's still putting in a downtrend, so that's a bit of trouble. We'll keep eyes on that. CTMX is breaking trend and back into 8. We're going to watch that as we go to Adair.
Yeah, President Trump here, slightly all focused from the Middle East, but he did just go after the Fed once again here, saying that the Fed should have a special meeting to cut rates right now. And what time to cut rates if not now? That a third grader would know that, and clearly Fed Chair Powell does not. He did, however, praise, quote, the new head of the Fed coming. That, of course, is Kevin Warsh, his nominee for the Fed chair position. So again, 2 days ahead of this FOMC meeting where the FOMC is very likely not to cut rates, President Trump not only arguing for a rate cut, but saying they should have a special meeting in order to do so. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Yes, always taking the opportunity to tell us exactly what he thinks about interest rates and how he feels about Chair Powell. Now, Chair Powell, over the weekend, rumors were through his lawyer, I guess this was communicated through his lawyer, that he will stay on as a member of the FOMC, which would be unprecedented. We haven't heard that, of course, from him directly. So I'm sure he'll be asked that at some point, on Wednesday. We'll see what he has to say to that. But it's going to be really interesting. And Kevin Warsh is not even, he's not even a shoo-in yet, because some Republican holdouts on, whether or not he can get nominated. I keep forgetting that senator's name, but yeah, what are you looking at?
Yeah.
You're doing well there, eh?
Well,
You're
no,
doing well there.
No, I'm long, brother. That we took a loss
long.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, the risk is really tight. This could be a really short trade, or it's going to work out pretty good for us. We're in F14s essentially, so right at the lower end of a range. I couldn't get a better price. But with that being said, right, we'll get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty, into the detail. We hold a little bit lower. I'm right at the lower end of this range. So if it does put in a new low of the day without any form of a bounce, then we're out. That's the plan of it, just extremely tight risk. And if we open up at 12s, we're at a dodge, all right? So there it is, a nice little print to the top side. If we can form somewhat of a consolidation and find somewhat of a sustained bounce, then we're positioned perfectly. Like, this is one of the good ones here. And if it doesn't work, then so be it. It's literally 2 cents worth of risk for me. Okay, 2 cents worth of risk, and then if it does get any form of a move, that can bring us up to 20s. So we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but a 4-to-1 potentially, maybe even a 5-to-1, if we can get up into 14.22. So a nice little pop up, just like that. Bang, 2 cents worth of risk, never even came to the stop. You hit a 1-to-1. All right, so not too bad whatsoever. A little bit higher, 1.5 to 1 as it printed 14.17s. And if it gets anything else up in the 18s, we can take another additional move. So the patience really coming into play. Don't want to get too crazy and too optimistic, considering anything can happen. Could be a little bit more of a breath, but now we're printing 17s. I see 18s on the tape right here. But not much size on that, right? So you see that little 18 print, we like that. The dark pools, boom, there it is. More clean 18 print, so a 2 to 1. Boom, 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 boom. Just like that, Sharif. So we're on the ass. We're gonna wait for it to hit the bid, and then we'll take a little bit more off if we're fortunate enough. So you hit a 2 to 1 on literally, not very often do you get to put on 2 cents of risk, except for in these lower names, but that's kind of the R to R I'm looking for right now. A nice bounce in Bitcoin, right? We're expecting that, considering the trend is holding up. We are hovering around the lows, but with the Nasdaq, anything can happen at any given moment. It's more or less correlated with this name, right? I haven't even gone over the Mag 7, which we can do right now, and I haven't seen what Google's been doing. We are starting to pull back in, so maybe that's the end of that one, but we're not gonna get out until we have to. I do believe that we can get a little bit more of a bounce. So let's head over to the big boys and see what they're up to here, guys. Ooh, SLV was tanking with the overall market. NVDA, we've been looking at that all day. Apple, what have you been doing? Did climb up to 253, coming back into VWAP. Microsoft, how have you been performing? Not too bad. So if you get a sustained move here, maybe we can drag the market up with us. Amazon hovering around the volume weighted average price. Goggles is really what I want to look at. So almost at the low of the day. That can be a little bit of trouble for the overall market. Tesla, we know that there's layoffs in Meta. We're probably going to be talking about that later.
Oh, yeah.
A big time gap up here, but now you're starting to give a little bit of that move back. So you got to take the gap up for what it is. What's it doing on the daily? Not much. I mean, this is the earnings report the following day, 742. You're now $120 south of that specific zone. So not the best look here in Meta. Full disclosure, I'm holding Meta and NVDA. Those are my large cap names in the long-term portfolio. And I like Meta for the foreseeable future. I just think Instagram is king right now until it's dethroned. And then Zuck's got his things going on the side, but he's not performing very well on, but so be it. All
Yeah,
right,
I got to tell you, though,
what's
remember
that?
what we talked about last week?
What's that?
They're licensing Gemini after the amount, like not for everything, and not to completely try to dunk on Zuck for everything, but dude, given how much money he spent.
Zuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On like specifically AI, not metaverse or anything like that isn't a good look.
No, it's not.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's what we've been
into
saying. Like, you take away social media. If Instagram wasn't the powerhouse that it was, I don't think Zuck would. What he's done on the side isn't successful.
No, he wouldn't even have the money either to do.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't have the money, right? So I mean, by all means, but you have to give him credit for taking these shots.
I do.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
he's gonna fail. He's gonna fail, and then it's just that one thing that can maybe, hopefully, that he hits on can lead to Meta to that next level outside of the social media platform.
Yeah, hopefully Avocado is a little bit better, man. But clearly, Llama was not, whether you're talking about 3 or 4. And it was also like pseudo open source. You couldn't use beyond a certain amount of tokens because they didn't want everyone piling in and using their I guess, their API in this case. So it was kind of open source, but it wasn't at the same time. It's not the same as some of the other open source that we're seeing coming out of China. So a bit of an interesting look there. Guys, this is the senator that I was mentioning, Tom Tillis. He met with Kevin Warsh last week, and you know I spoke about this last week as well. He's like, it really has nothing, well, he didn't say nothing, but it has less to do with the individual, Kevin Warsh that is, and more about the nomination process. So he's a Republican, and he's still sticking to his guns. So the Kevin Warsh nomination is not etched in stone at all. And he made comments, of course, about the DOJ probe into Chair Powell, et cetera. So this is the senator here, at least on the Republican side, of course, that could put the Kevin Warsh nomination as the Fed chair into question. All right, couple of things here. CTMX is really looking like it wants to take out 8 and take out 8 decisively. It's very slow to move. It's nothing like WNW, but this is a good looking pattern, but a very obvious area of resistance at 8. But we could make the same argument for that 775, 750 area. Look like the closing prints all south of 750, the wicks all rejected, 775. So it looks like here maybe 825 will be resistance if we can get above 8, but CTMX looks good. WNW, careful with this, guys, okay? Careful here. It looks like the shorts are now in control, right? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-minute candles in a row with lower highs. I get that's obviously not good. It's holding at 10, and which is now overlapping with the 10 EMA on the 5, where it has found support multiple times this week. So that's another thing to keep an eye out for there. But right now, unless we can get currently above 1150 based upon prior candle high, I'm not interested at all in punching into WNW. Be careful with this one. It moves quite aggressively. And then also I want to mention UAMY for the trader who mentioned this to me earlier. This is at a good area. So it's holding up at VWAP here. This could be, you know, that $11 rejection down, and we go into 1037, give or take, where the volume weighted average price. You can give it 8 pennies, for example. So if you wanted to risk a little bit over here into that 1030 area, let's go 1038, right? And then the stop price will be like 1029. You can keep an eye out on that. UAMY, let's see if it holds up. Let's give this one the old college try here. This is not a bad look at a clean hold off the volume weighted average price. I think I'm going to give this one a shot, Joey. We're going to weasel in over here, but I just want to adjust the risk that I want to take because it's not really a sure thing at all. So if we get in, let's just say 1039, and we give it to 1029, so risk about, 10 pennies, give or take. That's what we'll do there. And what do you got?
All right, same thing, man. Come on, stop printing 16s, man. The bid, it's fully intact. I mean, every time it gets a little bit of a pop-up, the sellers, you can see the defender here just stepping in at that $16, at that 16-cent mark and pushing price a little bit lower with the inability to the bid to hit 17. And we're continuously on the ask with that level. Again, you can see 17s printing, but then boom, immediately met by some form of defense here. So not too good of a look. Maybe this is going to be an additional breath before take a little bit lighter, but a leg lower, but a strong uptick in the Nasdaq, and that's what we're looking for, just a 16 break, and I'm prepared to take 33% of my position off. I mean, we're at a 1.5 to 1 at the print of 17s, but we just continuously knock on that door and have the inability to break it. Like, let's watch. If we get that clean flush higher and then print 17s on the bid, then boom, there it is. All right, that's what we wanted to see. Let's just do it, man. We'll take 35% off right there, just because we're knocking on that door. Maybe I provide a little bit of liquidity for us to break that 18 and start printing on the bid. So 1.5 to 1, we take a little bit off, nothing substantial. Obviously, significantly more shares around the lower end of that range, considering we're only risking 2 cents. Now we're going to wait for this level to be broken, and I'm going to be prepared to take out a little bit more. What did I just do? Oh, okay. Oh, no, did I just? Oh, I did, eh? All right, I did take some more off right there. I didn't want it at 17, so let's be prepared and make sure we don't make that same error once again. Now I'm sitting on approximately 33 or 40% of the position, not going to be paying too much attention to the size. We just want to keep going with what we got just in case we do get that breakout. But you can see the continuous rejection of that zone. Bitcoin still holding up relatively strong, but the overall market looks like this might be a breath. You had almost to the volume weighted average price and then slowly start to curl back over. One thing that you don't want on Bitcoin if you are looking for the long is that for sellers to engage themselves and break this trend line, because you'll be snapping that uptrend, the higher low, and then heading right back towards the LOD. Did I hear anything for Adair?
No, she was just talking.
Okay, we're good? All right, so yeah, I'll keep going on about that. We went over the Meg 7. What has the quantum space been up to? Rich Tech Robotics hasn't been good. RGTI with the high of $17 now down to $15. Not too good of a look whatsoever in the quantum space. Coinbase, how have you been doing? Really, really choppy. Did we get a strong bounce off of the lows here? I mean, 140 all the way up to 200. That's 42%, just like that. Oh, okay, there you go, bang. Now we're starting to print on, we did print 20s almost there, 18s on TSLL, come right back in. We're at the bid. There we go, a strong flush. That's exactly what we're looking for. We're going to take a little bit more off right there. Bang, bang, bang. Wham, bam on TSLL.
All right, guys. Shout out to Cool Brioche pointing out that HCWB is making a move here above the volume weighted average price. Moreover, Cool Brioche, it is decidedly breaking that downtrend. You know what I'm starting to notice is that some of these downtrend breaks are not immediate Vs, but they consolidate. V-shaped recoveries is what I meant, but they consolidate after kind of looking like they're done putting in these lower highs. And that's what this one did for a little bit. You can see that last lower high break coming in at about 1150. We do the consolidation dance until about 1220, and then that's when we really take off over here, looking like we want to get back into 95, give or take. Now, the way I see it, yeah, it's a $1.10 high on the day, but take a gander at some of these topping tails into about 97.5, kind of a random area to have resistance, but resistance nonetheless. We're talking about that 1150 candle again. Oh, wow. This one squeezed up to $1. Good shout out, Cool Brioche. 1110, 1115, all rejected that 97.5. This one's making a big move here into that $1.10 high. It had a couple of candles that I think closed above $1. Yeah, these three. 10.10, 10.15, and 10.20. Then all hell broke loose to the downside where we came back down into 75 pennies. So it's doing the dance with no underwear or pants right now with that $1 area. Let's see if it can clear it and clear it decisively. Get it, Joey. This guy's getting lit.
There we go.
This guy's
man.
getting
That's what
lit.
we're talking about. Just getting involved at 2 cents worth of risk, and we talked about that 22 mark coming into play. So not too bad of a look. Palantir breaking out from this pennant. Let's take a look at Palantir. What do you got? Well, talk to me over there, Sharif, as I pull up Palantir.
Yeah. HCWB, guys, is making a move. We're 3 pennies below the high of the day. I'm trying to load it up here. We are halted now on HCWB. Good call out, Brioche, man. 107. The details are as follows. Halt time, 12:43:27. Earliest will be open is 12:48:27. You add 5 onto that bad boy. The tap showing break even right now, 107. I saw it momentarily ago at 108, showing now 103. So that tug of war happening between buyers and sellers during the, During the halt is definitely making a move here. Oh my goodness. UAMY, I fat finger it over here. I was trying to take out a little bit at 48s, and I took out the entire thing. I got in at VWAP right at the low, and now it's making a move here into 10.5. I want to watch this one. If it can clear 1060, I'm going to get back into this one for another 11 move here on UAMY, up 14% on the New York. But let's go back quickly here to HCWB. The tap still showing the same thing, 107. There's a double top, guys, into 110, but this is the highest closing print on the day. The fact that we got into 107, the prior high closing print was about 105. So that's the high there in terms of closing prints. And then I want to bring your attention to this. Yeah, this is a tough one. We need to be careful with this. WNW is around for a good time and not a long time, and I think that's quite clearly demonstrated here by the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red candles in a row on the 5 that come into $7. It's holding 7 now, and that's just a skosh above the volume weighted average price, which is about 675 or 680. So at WNW is being controlled now by the shorts. If you are long, you need to be careful here because you can find yourself south of 7 super quick, Joey, and that is a no good for the long. Why are you laughing like that? What's going on?
The chat, man. The chat
what happened? I want to laugh too.
No, dude, man. Jay Dizzle.
Jay Dizzle, what's he up to, man?
These guys, how's...
No.
I don't know.
Loon?
I don't know yet.
What does that mean?
But anyways... 291. I mean, Andrew Tate bought, I think, a couple more $1 million worth of Bitcoin at 100,000.
He needs to cool it on their social media now. He's a little goofy.
Yeah, it's getting too much.
It's getting goofy before,
yeah, it's getting too much. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you, man, and I don't care what anybody says. At the beginning of his tirade, essentially, I liked Andrew Tate. I'm gonna say that. But then after he got his butt whooped by Chase, the more I'm like, I can't take you serious.
No, and he's overly aggressive now, beyond what it was before.
You know what I mean? It's like you have to chill out, especially after you take a whooping like that. And I mean, you're a multiple division champion in kickboxing.
Why would he do that?
And
Why
then
would
you
he
just
gamble with his reputation
like that?
Yeah,
Bro.
for you know what I mean? Like, what did he get out of that? Did he make a lot of money in the fight? What did he get?
He's probably like Floyd and said he made 10 times the amount that he actually made.
Speaking of
on that.
Floyd,
Yeah.
look who wants to fight all of a sudden.
Floyd, he's got like 2 fights lined up.
Why though?
Because he spends too much money. That's why.
Where is it? There we
Where's
go.
that?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
when you're
yeah,
living
yeah.
that way, you're gonna have to fight into your 50s.
I don't know how Floyd does it. Like Floyd says he makes $100 million each fight. Essentially, he's like $300 million. Listen, Floyd is the best boxer probably on the planet, defensive boxer that is. But I can't listen to this guy talk.
No.
He's just one of those people that's just like, same with Deontay Wilder. Can't listen to the dude talk. It's just like, just fight, man, please. All right. Aside from that, guys, holding up on these levels, we take some more off on Tesla. Bitcoin was strong. That trend line held up, right? That trend line held up, and now you're heading into VWAP. Let's see how we react around this. If we form another indecision print just a little bit north of that, or how this is starting to formulate, then maybe there might be a continuation to the short. What we do have is a channel. So we have lower highs and these lower lows starting to be formed on the Nasdaq and on the TQQs. Definitely a choppy one, lots of ebb and flows, so you want to try to catch the top end of the range on that. Let's see what the chat's saying about Floyd and all those.
They're still talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, rightfully
I don't
so,
blame
man.
them, right?
Floyd Money Mayweather. It's just be the money. There ain't no backing down. Okay, let's get out of this Tesla trade as it's coming back into our break even. Boom, we're all out of that. If it holds up, then there's going to be another opportunity, but the price action is just telling me we're too weak. We are fortunate enough to get that bounce, but no follow through or continuation. So we stop out about 33% of our position right there.
All right, Joey. Continuing to watch here, HCWB. I want to see when this one opens. Again, as we mentioned, 1248.27. It's 12:48. Show me a quick. Here we go. It should be open. Now it is. There's a new high of day. It's 112 where the players dwell. Keep an eye on this 113. I just saw 113's flash, but it's turning into a topping tail candle. It could be a buy off one. Be careful with this one. So let's see. If you were to get in, let's just say 112. You give it to 99s. Let's see. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do there. So let's go 112 and then give it to 99s where we default. Okay. Let's keep an eye. Let's see where the buyers are stepping in here. I'm just flipping to the 5-second chart up top so we can spot areas of support and resistance. Let's just zoom back out a little bit more. Here comes that $1 area, 105. Guys, be careful here. There could be liquidity grabs through that $1. There may not be room for you guys to get out if it does lose a dollar, especially if the shorts really pile in aggressively. But right now, quite frankly, it looks like it's defending at 102 area low. It's a 102 area low. You can give it to this area over here at around $1. So we'll see. I'm just trying to decide whether I want to get in here because it's a gnarly looking double top, but it's also quite an aggressive break through VWAP, through area highs. So let's see if the buyers step in. So we'll give it, we're going to go just like that. Perfect. So we're ready to go. Here comes 110, definitely towards the higher end of this candle. You don't have to necessarily give it to 99s. Give it to 102, 101. I would say give it to 99s though, you know, to give yourself the best opportunity, especially if there's liquidity grabs down around that whole dollar area. Unable to breach 112 high, so we're still, you know, trading below prior candle high. A new 5-minute candle has now opened, showing 107. Again, prior bar low was 102. Does it hold the dollar? HCWB up over 100%, man, 106. Here comes, coming into prior bar low, holding it for now. Good hold here on that prior bar low, but for how long? This candle looks decidedly red. Let's see if the buyers step in here, Joey. I'm going to pass it to you so I can send some, we're going to Adair.
Letting you guys know, President Trump is still talking. None of it is at all related to the market, but just an update that he is, in fact, still speaking, and I, of course, am still listening. Let's talk here about, we'll keep an eye on USO, some more Middle East headlines. IDF, of course, that's Israel's military, saying that they have struck an Iranian intelligence command center in Tehran. We also have more comments from European leaders, including Callas of the EU, basically saying that, quote, this is not Europe's war, and once again, European leaders not wanting to get involved in the conflict in the Middle East. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much for that, Adair. There goes because, man, listen.
You gotta share in the laughter, my
No,
boy.
but I got it. I'll share with you, obviously.
Is it
but
like
it's
not
chat.
PG-13?
No, it's not. It's not that. I just don't like it. It's the chat, man. Like for me, just reading the comments, it makes
you chuckle?
it makes me.
Fair enough.
It makes me laugh. You know what I mean?
Get it, Joey.
But aside from that, there goes Bitcoin. Right back towards the top end of this range. This is going to be a key pivot right at 42 smackers. We were looking at the options chain on this one earlier. Supply zone, we reject, but now we're starting to climb right back into that level. Can Tesla hold up? We can do the exact same thing as that we were doing before. We take some profits on that trade. We're now at 16s. If we head a little bit lower and decide to hold this lower end of the range, I can risk a couple pennies once again for an anticipation, not necessarily the participation of a potential pop here in Tesla. We're still positive about 1.5%. There, Lemons family, it is, but I can't call him the best boxer if you never fought anyone, just wanted to lost. Some of the thoughts were less entertaining. Yeah, I agree on that. Okay, but there goes thing, MSTR top VoIP. It's Bitcoin, right? And if you're going to be looking at MSTR as a leverage play, I think that's kind of what you have to, but it's not Bitcoin. Like, what is your objective in the trade? What are you planning to do? Are you anticipating that Bitcoin has somewhat of a monster run from the levels that it is? Other than that, I mean, that's not horrible. From February, a couple months ago, a month and a bit ago, you're up 43% in MSTR. Who would have said that, right? Like, that's not something that we often talk about. If you think that this breakout is going to be sustained and continued, then by all means, just watch out for those next levels, 151. Just understand your objective with that specific trade. That's with every trade. Just what is your objective and try to stick with the game plan. We might have missed this opportunity here on the reload in Tesla, Sharif.
Okay.
But there goes Bitcoin. There goes NVDA bouncing off some trend lines. And there's the market, the SPY and the Qs right back at the volume weighted average price.
That's crazy.
Yes, sir.
All right, Airs, shout out to Cool Brioche again. He's coming with some fire today. Look, it's clearing VWAP, and it's on the way to 3. Here comes, we're at 296 and change. High days 326, but very little in the way of closing prints above that $3 area. Not surprised. Let's see if this one has continuation. Here comes 98s. I think we just flashed 99s momentarily there. Very strong move here from AIRS, up 61%. I did try my hand at HCWB, so this will be the first loser on the day. We had a super tight stop. We got in 106s, and then I saw it break trend on the 5, so I got the hell out of there. I didn't even give it to 98s, which was my original stop. So we got into 6s, got out at 2s. So a bit of a, zig and zag there. We're going to pack the patience. We're going to look to AIRS and UAMY when we get back from Adair.
President Trump is now taking questions at this Kennedy Center event. So again, he said what he'd be doing is making his comments, taking questions, then they progress into, I guess, the lunch portion of events. Right now, he is, in fact, taking questions. I will keep you posted if there's anything massive happening here. I suspect a lot of them will have to do with the Strait of Hormuz, but it is worth noting President Trump just said that with regards to any countries that could be part of this coalition with the Strait of Hormuz, Marco Rubio would be announcing these countries. Back to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Deep Cheek. I can't see the full name there. Let me zoom in. Deep Cheeks. What do you want from my life, Ram Ram? It's his name. His name is Deep Cheeks AI.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. We all know De La Hoya beat Mayweather. He's obviously talking about De La Hoya. I got to disagree. I think Mayweather... All right. Get it, Donald. I think De La Hoya did lose to Mayweather. I think he gave him a hell of a fight.
Yeah.
I think it was towards the tail end of De La Hoya's career anyway. I think he gave Mayweather a good fight, but the guy that I think gave Mayweather the hardest...
Sugar.
Yes, he hurt him, but that was a one-off, and that was early in the fight. And then Mayweather dominated later. What I say is Jose Luis Castillo, who also had an amazing fight with Diego Corrales back before Chico died, sadly, in a car accident or in a motorcycle accident in Vegas. But Jose Luis Castillo kept Mayweather on the ropes for 12 rounds.
Really?
12 rounds. Mayweather beat him.
Oh, did he?
He on points.
How are you on the rope?
Pardon me?
How are you on the ropes?
Dude, Jose Luis Castillo just had that jaw for somebody his size.
Yeah?
Wouldn't go down, right? So I think that was one of the Mayweather's toughest fights. I like, of course, the Mayweather fight. Marcos Maidana, that was also a tough fight for Mayweather. He got hit a bunch of times. But yeah, of course, Sugar Shane Mosley was one of the best fights.
Crazy to think, like, even some people say he dodged a lot of the bigger fights, but regardless, he still never hit the canvas.
No, he didn't, and he almost went down with Mosley.
Yeah.
Mosley clipped him twice in the same round.
You know what?
And he was shaking.
You know what he said?
You got to give him a decent. He's got a decent chin, man.
What do you mean? He has probably
one of the best chins ever.
Exactly.
Like, he didn't.
You have to take into consideration with his chin, and for the Philly shell as well.
Absolutely. And he could do it because he had the speed to really perfect the Philly shell.
Yeah, he had this. He had the speed, but the shell is ineffective with taller fighters. If they're tall,
so?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 1,000%. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say 1,000. Well, because with the Philly shell, if you're fighting a shorter fighter, they punch up, right? Which it gives you the opportunity to glance off the shoulder.
Sure.
But if you're punching down, think about where you're coming in at. You can raise it a little bit, and if you lift your punch a little bit, right, you can hit that tempo.
That makes sense.
So like when I was boxing, Philly shell, shorter fighters.
You would have to guard up. You have
taller
to.
Fighters, right?
Interesting. Very interesting. Good call there, man. Yeah, interesting stuff there. I love the comments from you guys in the chat. Of course, everybody's going to have an opinion, obviously. Marcos Maidana should have won, says 051 La Raza. Who else, man? We got... let's see, Castile is a strong name regardless. Yeah, Castillo, okay, Jose Luis Castillo, of course. Other Zing says Mayweather is great, period. Mayweather is 0 for 2 versus taxes, says he. I didn't know. Did he get clipped with a federal charge on taxes?
Yeah. Yeah, for a lot.
Yeah.
I highly doubt that he was probably paying his taxes.
Zab was a good fight, too. Somebody said Zab. Zab Judah was another good fight. Zab fought dirty, though. He punched him low.
I thought
no, that was Victor Ortiz who headbutted him. And then he got clipped for that. But Zab did hit him low a bunch of times, and then Zab's dad came into the ring, and all hell broke loose. So you remember that? Zab Judah's a fighter, man. Oh, man, yeah, Zab did hit him low a couple of times. Those are good times, Joey, man. All right. I don't have much in the way of trades right now. WNW is really bleeding its own blood. It looks like, though, the trade here, UAMY, a clean hold off VWAP, CYN, another attempt here at 3. It's at 291 and going. CTMX is still doing the dance here with 8. Like, I mean, it's above 8, but you don't have that decisive clearing of that $8 level. So be on the lookout. And I'm seeing WNW is now halted down, and the blood is in the streets. Joey, can you find a green candle here?
Where?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Tell me the shorts are in control without telling me the shorts are in control. We are decidedly now below the volume weighted average price. We're below that key area of resistance earlier, $6, which you could have said was going to act as support. So WNW here, man. Luis Barbados probably all over this. I can't wait to ask him about this one on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But here comes HCW again, and this might be my invitation to take another shot at this. This is my first loser of the day. HCW double bottom into 95, and then now it's trying to reclaim 105. I think if we get above prior bar high, Adair is laughing. We're going to send it to Adair. Something's going on.
President Trump just said on the Strait of Hormuz that the U.S. doesn't need oil. So again, according to U.S. President Trump, the U.S. does not need oil. He also said that NATO is the U.S. Lots of comments coming through here from President Trump. Again, lots is being said, guys, but again, the main thing here, President Trump is saying the U.S., quote, does not need oil. Back to you.
This guy's hilarious.
Well, I think he means like the world oil, because they're break even now, right? They're producing what they export, so they're producing. I forget the amount of. I think 20 million barrels per day or 50 that the U.S. consumes. I forget. Fact check me, chat.
There goes.
And they're producing the same amount as they consume, but I don't think it's that simple. There goes HCWB. I made a mistake here of talking, and there it goes. It's taking out highs. Here we are, 116. What a clean double bottom into 95 and a rocket back up into 116. I don't know if this is showing a halt parameter here because it's not moving. That's incorrect. 117 high. Here we go. Get it, Jose. Time to yell, China. Yes, of course I will, Jose, and just for you. In fact, here's what we're going to do.
China. China.
I think that,
Right.
Sharif, hold on there. I think the market might be reacting to this.
Okay, go ahead,
There's
Joey.
a strong move on Tesla. We're seeing a pretty strong uptick in a couple of the bigger names as well. Look at the volume following this. Big move there. NVDA, big move, and then you can see it reflected. Not the volume necessarily that we're looking for in the Nasdaq and in the Spider, but this is what we want to see. Big continuation. Look how large this volume print is, relatively speaking, for the past hour plus, and the exact same thing and same narrative here on Tesla. There was another re-engage opportunity. We should have took advantage of that, but now, if we're going to start to turn things around on today's session, then by all means, any form of pullback, let's see if we can get engaged one more time on Tesla. It's worked really well for us. We did take an initial loss on it, but then we were risking only 2 pennies here, and then we got a nice move up to 22s. We pieced a little bit more off, and then we do get stopped out 30%, but that's nothing. Small potatoes. I like Tesla for a rebound back into VWAP. We have NVDA almost right back at the high of the day, like nothing happened essentially. Bouncing off the trend line. We're not quite there on IBIT yet. We got to go to 42.28, but we're only 9 cents off of that $42 mark on IBIT, which is holding the most amount of size. And we've seen an increase on NVDA on the options chain open interest and on IBIT's options chain with open interest. So a lot of opportunities here. The volatility is most in. So hopefully we get a couple more comments from Donald Trump that's going to move the market. And then you never know with oil, right? At any given moment, something can come in along those lines as well.
For sure. Mopar for life, thank you very much for the $2 super chat. Appreciate that. Marcos Maidana gave Floyd his toughest fight. I wouldn't disagree much with that. I definitely feel like it was one of his toughest fights. Marcos Maidana, a pressure fighter, definitely a puncher. I just think that, Jose Luis Castillo gave him a bit of a tougher fight when he was fighting at a smaller weight classes or in a lower weight class as well, to be fair. So Castillo probably didn't carry the same type of power that Maidana had in the higher weight division. So don't disagree with that at all. Man, oh man, this is gonna haunt me here, this UAMY trade. What a fat-fingered mistake this was. We had the bottom wick on this one into 35, and there it goes into 72. That would have been all sorts of, that would have been really, really profitable. I'm kind of disappointed in myself for that one. Should have got back in and just given it to prior bar low. But there it goes, guys. When we get back from Adair, we're going to talk a little Trump administration, a little of the tech bros and the hawks.
President Trump here is saying that they don't even know whose Iran's leadership is right now due to how many people they've struck down. They also said that he's not sure if Iran is ready yet to negotiate, but he said they are currently negotiating. He doesn't know if they're ready to step down and says they're, quote, taking a pounding. So President Trump, you're talking about the possibility here of Iran trying to make a deal. Again, not sure if they're ready right now, but apparently they are open to some kind of negotiation. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Yeah, so David Sachs on the weekend, who is the AI czar and the crypto czar in the Trump administration, on the All-In Pod, very, very vocal and pretty, I would say, categoric in his opposition for a prolonged war, basically saying that President Trump should declare victory, say, we beat the hell out of them, we destroyed their military, and get the hell out of there. Now, I would make the argument, is in the tech bros side of the administration. The administration, I would say, very, very, I don't want to say that these are the only two camps, but they're split into two. Basically, you have the hawks, the old Republican hawks, and then you have the tech bros. Tech bros don't want wars. The hawks, as we know, how they feel. And I feel, fits into the tech bro side of the administration, and he doesn't want the hawks in the ear of President Trump. He feels he's going to drag them into a long war. And so his opinion is, at least for him and that sort of side of the administration, they want this war to shorten up. Now, he feels that President Trump is more pragmatic, and he's neither, on this side or that side. He's going to do whatever is politically savvy. This is David Sachs's opinion, whether you agree with him or not. So I feel and I hope that President Trump is pragmatic, and when they're the right time. I think we should definitely be ending this thing and winding this thing down. Otherwise, it risks turning into something else like Iraq. Who needs that, right? And having kind of this asymmetric warfare define the, the coming years of his administration. That's what it will be. It will be entirely asymmetric. I don't think that they're going to be able to muster the same type of power the United States can. So we'll have to wait and see how that all happens, how that all does, and what kind of timeline that unfolds under. But continuing to watch HCWB here, guys, coming back down. Prior bar lows about to get breached, 106. We're showing 107 right now. You can get in here, give it to prior bar low, or you can be a bit more aggressive, give it to the dollar. The 10 EMA on the 5 now is above that dollar area. So let's see if this current candle here on HCWB holds trend. The buyers are stepping in at 7. But it looks like there's more size waiting at 8 than there is at 7 there. It's always about what we can't see that, gets us in. So we're going to give this one the old community college try. We're going to give it to prior bar low, Joey, which takes us into 106. So we put in 105, and we'll see what comes of this.
All right, good stuff there. So it looks like we're slowly starting to top out. We had that strong volume push, guys, up into 25s there roughly on TSLL. And then in Tesla, almost a new high of the day, but we reject 185 on NVDA, 184.96 roughly was that high. And then now we're starting to print of indecision candles here on the 5-minute with the IBIT, all right? So it's not the easiest, right, session considering there's so many mixed signals. You're up, you're down, and you're around here in the overall market. But if you're patient, come 2:30, 3 o'clock, I think there's gonna be some prime time opportunities. This market could go full recovery mode. It doesn't take much for this thing, for us to get going here. Let's head back over to our scanner and our watch list to see if there's anything really interesting. How's silver been on the day? This is our 5-minute. Downtrend still fully intact. Daily haven't really been doing much for the past little while outside of this, essentially, this massive volatility spike and liquidation day. I remember we were kind of like, even though it's not funny, but an investor lost a heap of money and then fled the country on this day here, which I still find somewhat comical because you got to essentially get out of there. Meta, guys, not doing much either. We'll go over and see what Circle's been up to. It did receive an upgrade today. A new high, $123. And I mean, ever since this trend was broken and continuing to climb from early February, you're up 148%. $50 all the way to $123. That's insane. All right? I mean, we're nowhere even close to the IPO level. Oh, we're north of that. What am I talking about? So yeah, we're way north of that, $63. And we don't talk about this quite often. Names that have been holding and surpassing that IPO, especially within this time frame. $300 may be a little bit of a stretch, but there was a price target increase on this name as well too. And the downtrend has definitely been broken. And look at the volume really start to pick up in it. So Circle has been performing really well. And I think it's going to for the foreseeable future. More money going into bonds. And I think that's going to be the big time driver of it, just considering how much billions in bonds they have in USDT. So not too bad of a look there. I'm going to be honest.
Actually a good point.
Yeah, I think that's really what's going to drive this thing here, the stable coin. But it's funny to see a name like this because what are these stable coins built on?
Oh, well, they're backed by...
They're backed by the dollar.
And treasuries, and U.S. treasuries, so they're paying a bit of a yield.
But what is the stablecoin built on? Because essentially it's an electronic...
blockchain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you would think that the blockchain, i.e. Ethereum, would be performing a little bit better considering...
I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying on that? But that's not necessarily the case. Like if we're going to talk about the picks and shovels of things, I think you have to look at the blockchain and what's really driving.
And that was my bull case for Ethereum, that it does... I'm substantially out of the money in Ethereum. And substantially out of the money on BMNR. It's just the way it is, I'm going to continue to hold it. If it ends up making a comeback, fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't plan on cashing out. But yeah, that is the look there, Yeah.
I mean, but it's up to $2,000. I thought that we would see maybe like $1,000 on Ethereum. Let's see. No, I mean, we didn't even really get there.
We've got a long way to go, my guy, on that. Look at that. Look at that structure. Look how much has to recover. Bring that down, bro. Show everybody. Look how much has to recover. We have to take out 3,200 or 30, Look at that flat level right there.
This
yeah,
year,
that's number one. Number
Yeah,
two, you got to
there's
get
a
about
lot, dude.
4,000.
Like
There's a whole
$2,700.
lot, dude, that we got to get back.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, same with Bitcoin. I mean, too, like BTC. I mean, it's the same trend line. There's a lot. This 83 mark, if we're even fortunate enough to get there, it's going to probably cause worlds of trouble. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel because there's no fundamentals backing this, it's so much harder to gauge, right? Like, you can build cases for both of them saying, okay, you're going to have supply restraints in Bitcoin as the years pass on. There's going to be less and less supply of this thing. And then you can say you have real world assets being built on the blockchain using Ethereum, right?
Just going to do both.
Right? But then it's like, outside of that, what do you really have to say that can give you more conviction within the trade?
Just the argument for them?
Yeah.
Those are the two,
Those are
right?
the two,
I mean,
right?
and
So
it's the future of being able to send money electronically, prove ownership, because Ethereum, you can have the smart contracts. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
solid.
It's pretty disruptive, but I just think it's more futuristic.
But what you need is the larger institutions to adapt this technology.
100%.
Otherwise, it's nothing. It's all smoke and mirrors.
I agree.
All right, guys, let's start the news segment as we always do. We're going to use the morning note for the news segment. So if you want to sign up for the morning note, scan that QR code that's coming up right there, and it'll take you to the Trader TV Live homepage, where a handsome gentleman by the name of Brendo will give you that introduction video. So check it out. And for those who complain that it is actually over $5, get off your Apple device. Go directly on your computer and sign up there. Otherwise, Apple, they got to get their 30%, and so that's going to be added to the top of that $5 area. So make sure you're being smart about how you sign up. Put money into Apple's pocket, even though as a shareholder, I do not mind. Let's talk about this. Meta weighs major layoffs as AI spending surges. So sadly, over the weekend, I think it was Saturday or Sunday, Meta's, well, the market reacted today, but they announced over the weekend, Meta shares moved higher in the pre-market trading following reports that the company may cut more than 20% of its workforce as they ramp up spending on AI infrastructure. The sources to the story indicated that senior leaders, they've been asked to prepare plans for reductions, which could impact about 15,000 workers if implemented. Meta employs roughly about 79,000 workers worldwide. That's as of December of last year. Could be more or less now, meaning the proposed layoffs would represent the largest restructuring since the 2022 job cuts of about 11,000 jobs. This would be the biggest one. And then we had even more layoffs, you'll recall, in 23, dubbed the year of efficiency, where there was more layoffs but not as big, all in one clump like that. The potential layoffs come as Meta dramatically increases its AI-related CapEx, capital expenditures, projected to be between $115 to $135 billion this year. That is roughly double what they spent last year. And then, separately, of course, all this is being spent on AI. And then we get the story last week that, at least for the moment, they're licensing Gemini, because Llama is not working out, and Avocado now, which is their next model, has been delayed. Layoffs tied to AI investment are becoming more common across the tech sector as companies replace certain tasks with automation, of course, while building smaller, more specialized teams. We heard that from Jack Dorsey before he tried to walk it back a bit. Firms such as Block and Amazon have already announced large-scale job reductions tied to AI. Amazon did this exact same thing as well. They tried to, I don't want to say walk it back, but to explain that it wasn't really AI related. It was more about right-sizing from COVID. Same thing said by Block as well. According, though, to Challenger, Gray, and Christmas Data, a data firm, AI-related restructuring has already contributed more than 12,000 job cuts to the U.S. in 2026. I would have pegged it to be a little bit more, but the less the better, quite frankly, because I think this is going to be quite disruptive.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really disruptive, and I think there's only really one way this is going to continue to go, Sharif.
Sir.
Especially as companies become more efficient using their AI products and different AI products, more layoffs. I mean, this is a fifth of their workforce, 20% that Zuck is looking to lay off, which isn't good, obviously, from an economic standpoint. But if the company is going to be more efficient, the only thing is that he's just funneling all of those funds into more AI spend, which we know for the past little little bit hasn't been great. And we talk about what Jack Dorsey was doing with Block not too long ago. Do you think at any point that maybe Amazon and Dorsey said the exact same thing essentially, is that they just did an over-hiring during COVID, but do you think that we're really starting to use AI as a form of a scapegoat to kind of right the wrongs of the over-hiring in
That could be a good point.
It's crazy
I see
to
what you're
speak
saying
of it.
by that,
It's,
yeah.
and it's crazy to think here because it's 6 years ago. Like, why are we talking about COVID when it was over half a decade ago? But maybe just holding on to the employees. I just really think that if you don't become more efficient, and essentially how do we determine if a company is becoming more efficient? Well, you're going to see an increase in margin. If you don't see that relatively quick with these layoffs, then it's like, hey, are we just using this as a scapegoat for wrongful management?
Good point. Derek, give us your take.
For one thing, I do want to mention here, President Trump has finished his Q&A. So President Donald Trump no longer taking questions. That just ended like a minute ago. I also want to let you guys know, Meta has responded to this report to CNBC, and they basically denied it more or less, or at the very least they downplayed it. They said that, quote, this is a speculative report about theoretical approaches. So take that as you will. With that in mind, that's really the main thing I have to say here. I don't have tons of opinions on this in and of itself, because I think, as Joe said, we'll kind of get more of a sense of how this impacts things as we go forward. But one other thing I do want to add, JP Morgan actually weighed in on this, and they had a pretty interesting take. So if these layoffs are, beyond quote unquote speculative, if there's something real here, JP Morgan believes that Meta could be saving $5 to $6 billion a year if they go forward as reported. So if the exact same layoffs that happened, as Reuters reported, that roughly 20%, they could be saving a cool $5 to $6 billion a year. So food for thought there from JPM.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a small amount. I mean, that's like running a business 101. You have fixed costs, you have variable costs. Labor is always kind of that fixed cost that you can augment. They can't augment their investment costs because then they'll fall behind everybody else. So it's like their hands are tied about where they can cut from. I mean, that's just the feeling that I get. We're gonna have to see how this all works out, but
fall behind even more because we know that llama is not good. You're relying on avocado to be half decent,
and it's delayed.
So it's like how much?
Right?
And I mean, if we're talking,
and they're working on multimodal too. To be fair to them, another video and audio one. I forget the name of it, but go ahead. Sorry, Joe.
No, it's just the spend. The CapEx spend is substantial. So I mean, it's hard. I mean, if you look at the bigger picture, hopefully they have a real way to monetize and really start to bring in more profit and not being as heavily reliant on the digital ads. Then sure enough, you could see $1,000 eventually on META, but I don't know if that's the case this second, focusing in on things.
What Meta products do you use?
I don't use any.
None.
Zero.
You don't use WhatsApp?
Okay, WhatsApp. Yeah, WhatsApp.
But like, I mean, I don't see
very rarely,
and it's not really monetized. At least I don't see any ads on WhatsApp. I know that some people
there's a little bit now.
I don't see any.
Yeah, there's.
My family group is on WhatsApp because not everybody has an iPhone, and I never encounter WhatsApp. Katina, man, I see you on WhatsApp all the time, brother. Are you seeing ads? No ads. Katina. The Katina Man says they're monetizing it through business corporate. That's actually a great point.
So, look, see, I don't know if this is ads or anything, but they'll try to get you to follow, certain channels and stuff like that.
I think they're just trying to expand usability, but that's not really like an ad.
No,
right?
they're not. Yeah, you're not bringing in anything on that. Probably.
Not that I've seen personally. Let's switch the subject here. Let's talk a little bit about NVIDIA's GTC. Starts today, 2 o'clock, in about 40 minutes. So no afternoon rundown today. Adair is going to be covering that GTC conference with the keynote. So stay tuned with us at 2 o'clock with the big boys and Adair at the big desk. They're going to be covering the whole thing. Make sure to hang out with us. We're going to have it. So let's talk about what to expect here. CEO Jensen Huang, you may have heard of him, will open up the company's annual GTC Developer Conference, where investors are expecting major announcements on AI chips, data centers, infrastructure, and software. Analysts, though, are expecting NVIDIA to outline their next-generation chip roadmap, specifically including updates tied to the Rubin and the Feynman architectures. NVIDIA's dominance, has historically come from AI training workloads, but training now is falling out of favor. In exchange for what, or in favor of what? inference, and that's the next growth phase here, according to analysts, and that's what NVIDIA is likely going to focus on or this whole week. It's 4 days, where trained modules execute real-time tasks through AI agents interacting with software applications. That's what we mean by inference. Analysts expect a large surge in AI agents performing automated tasks. With inference workloads, they can run on a wide variety of chips, which increases the competitive pressure on NVIDIA. And we've been seeing this. We've been seeing all these custom silicon chips coming out from some of the hyperscalers, like we've talked many times about Google's tensor processing units, the TPUs, or Amazon's Trainium. I know Microsoft has one. I just keep forgetting the name. And Meta was also looking at building one. They've delayed that in addition to delaying their avocado model. So not a lot positive in the world of Meta at the moment. But the point is that there is a movement away from NVIDIA's chips and its insane gross margins of mid 70% in exchange for an even more efficient chip that costs less. Again, ASICs is what we're talking about. The Marvells, the Broadcoms are involved in that. NVIDIA, though, does still control 90% market share in AI training and inference today, but analysts expect that dominance to gradually decline. Major customers such as OpenAI and Meta are building custom ASICs, as I mentioned, and analysts believe NVIDIA could begin seeing market share erosion starting at around 2027. I think a lot of people have been calling for NVIDIA's downfall since it started making the big move in early 23, and that hasn't happened.
I don't know how you call for, like, again, it's just by no means am I no fundamental expert, but then when you see that exponential growth in which we experienced in a couple of names, which got me involved with Robinhood, I know it's kind of comparing apples to oranges, but it was the same narrative with NVDA. It's just that you have that high triple-digit growth being sustained for quite some time. I don't think you sway from that, and I mean, what essentially happened is that we're still seeing high double-digit growth as well, too, even triple-digit in some segments. So, but one thing to note, Sharif, expected to unveil a next generation AI chip. Did you mention, I think it's Feynman?
Yeah,
is what they're
I
calling
did,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, you talked about that. So, I mean, how is this going to compare to the Blackwell? When is he going to start shipping this thing en masse? Because we talked about kind of the expiration date on some of these chips. How continuously and how often are you going to have to update them, which I think is going to be really important and be a sustained driver of this specific company.
I think they're going to continue to have a yearly update cycle just for revenue purposes, so that analysts can gauge revenue in the future. But just before we send it to Adair,
but like the 60 is like kind of like the iPhone, right? Like it's not going to be substantially better. You'll have little things here and there, right? I don't know. I don't think you can advance the technology that quick, but you just have
no idea.
Every couple of years you have that one that takes that next like larger leap.
right?
I think in my
We can check to see like what the order of magnitude improvement is over, for example, the H200 and Blackwell,
exactly.
right? And then the next gen from Blackwell. But my understanding is it's supposed to focus on CPUs, or the majority or of the headlines are going to be CPU based and inference based. We'll see, of course, what Jensen has to offer in about 20 or 37 minutes. Adair, give us your take on NVIDIA.
Yeah, I'm going to be heading over to have a little break here and prepare for you guys. This is the last time you're going to see me here probably on this midday show again until we really get into like 10 minutes before this GTC. But what I want to talk about more is what some of these other companies are going to give us and what we can maybe expect from said other companies. Here are some of the many, many sponsors and exhibitors that are publicly traded that are going to be at GTC. Now, we know, I mentioned earlier, both Google Cloud and Dell reportedly going to be having some kind of announcement at this GTC conference. Now, when I posted about this, Dell actually liked my post. So that really seems to be like there's going to be some kind of Dell content. So yeah, thank you for that button there. And shout out to Dell. That would be my takeaway from that. Now, in terms of companies to keep an eye on for aftermarket announcements, because we know that this conference is happening over on the West Coast, so we're going to be getting a little bit of a time delay at 6 p.m. Eastern. You're going to be expecting presentations from the likes of CrowdStrike, ServiceNow, ACN, Accenture, Tesla, CoreWeave, and Mercado Libre. So a lot of these events are going to be happening after the bell. I'm going to be posting, as I said, like this will be on X. You know, a couple minutes before these events start, so you guys can get a better sense of who's going to be, I guess, announcing when. But it's worth noting that even if something isn't mentioned during the keynote, doesn't mean it's not going to have a role to play at this GTC event.
Thank you very much. WNW's halted again down. Okay, so guys, careful with this, please. Here, it's rejected 8, it's down into 6 now. So WNW was over 600%. in Greensville. It's down to 235, trying to hold 6. I think it's a little bit below VWAP, so be careful with this. Let's talk a little Tesla. There was multiple headlines today. I realized that on Tesla. The one that I've decided to cover is the TerraFab, where Tesla starts making their own chips, adding to that adding more, I should say, to that vertical integration push that they've been doing for the last few years. So Tesla CEO Elon Musk, might have heard of him, said the company's TerraFab AI project could launch within about 7 days. Woo! The initiative centers on Tesla's 5th generation AI chip named the A15. It's designed to power autonomous driving systems. Case in point, of course, FSD, full self-drive. Musk suggested Tesla may eventually build its own large-scale semiconductor fabrication facility. He's been saying this for a while, looking, of course, to lessen the reliance on Taiwan Semi, Samsung, and some of the other players that he sources from. He described the potential factory as, quote, bigger and bigger, implying Tesla may need significant manufacturing capacity to support the compute requirements of its AI ambitions. He always makes a case that Tesla is real-world AI vis-a-vis FSD. You know, whether you agree with him or not, that's what he's been saying for a long time. The company has increasingly positioned itself not just as an EV manufacturer, of course, but a major AI and robotics developer using, I should say, massive data generated from its vehicle fleets, both while it's using FSD and when it's not, to kind of learn human behavior and base the AI off that. Tesla's been recruiting as well AI chip designers in South Korea specifically as it prepares for high volume AI chip production. And Tesla previously explored, Joey, collaborations with other semiconductor firms such as Intel and some others, but they haven't really finalized agreements. My spidey sense tells me Elon wants to do this alone so that he and he alone can control the type of chip, the quality, the quantity, and invest kind of with that vertical integration, but the same stuff that he does with batteries. I realize, you know, he has exactly right. He wants to control it from the bottom part to the completed product at the top.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, these things aren't as simplistic as they seem to be with Elon. We know he's a little optimistic as well too, but I think this is a massive step in order for him to kind of keep up with the potential of production capabilities that he has with the Optimus and RoboCab, right? So he needs to build this in order for him. If RoboTaxi really catches and people take a hold of it, he's going to need this in order for him to have that production capability.
Absolutely, and you know, with FSD just getting more and more complicated, he's going to need better and better chips. Like, one of the things that we often talk about is depending on what version of hardware you have in your Tesla, you may be kind of capped about how good of an FSD version you have. Case in point, if you have software version 3 version 3, you may not be able to run the latest FSD should it come out in the future, right? And I think we're on 14.2 or 14.3 now. Point is, you need to have hardware version 4. And really, depending on what model you have, you may have it, so for example, some cars got it in 22. I think the X got hardware version 4 and 22, but the Y and the 3, I think they got it in 23 or later in 23. So there's just kind of varying degrees of hardware and compatibility here for Tesla's products. And they were asked, quite frankly, I think he's been asked many times, are you going to update people's hardware version, at least make it available, maybe they can pay for it, so that they can be able to run the latest version of FSD? And we never really got a clear answer on that. So we'll have to wait, see what Mr. Musk has in store. Let's talk, though, about Google and more EU pressure mounting on the regulator in Europe to find Google and find them quickly. European publishers, tech firms, and startups are urging regulators to conclude a nearly 2-year investigation into Alphabet's Google over alleged favoritism of its own services and search results. So industry groups sent a letter to the EU leadership asking regulators to finish the probe and issue the penalties, saying that you're delaying justice. That expression always goes, justice delayed is justice denied, whether you agree with that or not. We'll have to wait and see. But
The investigation began a while ago, almost 2 years ago now, March 25th, 2024, under the Europeans' much-loved DMA, Digital Markets Act. The reason that it's kind of atypical here is that your regulators in Europe like to conclude investigations basically within 12 months of when they open it, but clearly that hasn't happened here because we're going on 24. Groups are arguing the Commission's credibility is at stake and warn that any delay could weaken the enforcement of any new tech rules that they enact. Critics, are claiming Google, if you're wondering what this whole, problem is, critics are claiming that Google has favored its own services in search rankings, which is disadvantaging publishers and rival platforms all across the continent. Industry organizations, they say, or they allege that the conduct's reduced profitability for European firms and limited their ability to invest and grow. Another day, you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah,
another European investigation.
I mean, they're trying to really, really push this thing, an additional antitrust here. It's crazy what these regulators over there in Europe are doing to some of these big tech names. I don't think this is going to be heavily weighted, Sharif. We know what was going with the antitrust here. Once that was brushed off its shoulders, off to the races, Google went. I just don't think that this necessarily thing is the thing that's going to weigh Google down. They'll end up paying a fine.
10% of your global revenue, Joey, is how much they could fine you. 10% of your global revenue, not profit, my boy. Can you imagine that? I'd shut down operations in the entire continent if they tried to do that to me. I mean, you go figure it out.
10%. It's like, well, I'll go pick it up somewhere else.
10% of your global revenue.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot, man.
But how much of that total revenue is accounted for in the European EU?
No, but it's your global. They
I know, but that's what I'm. So what I'm saying.
I don't know. I can find out. We can find out.
You know what I mean? If the EU keeps charging you, it's like how much are we actually making here? Good point. Well, let's get out of Dodge, and then we'll go somewhere else.
Get the hell out of there.
Strike a deal with China or something.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
That's not gonna happen. But yeah, you make a lot of sense. Yeah, how much is it gonna actually cost them? Let's talk about Micron. Micron's up nicely on the day. I think up 5 almost and 2/3. SanDisk as well up 8 1/3. So the memory names having a day. Micron specifically though, they've completed the purchase of PowerChip Semiconductor Manufacturing's Taiwan fab in Tongluo. I don't know how to say this. Tongluo, giving the company full ownership of the facility. The transaction follows a previously announced agreement back on January 17th of this year. The Tongluo facility will operate alongside Micron's existing Taiwan operations, and it's going to integrate the company with the company's mega campus manufacturing network. So the acquisition here, the purpose of it is to support Micron's long-term plan to expand its advanced DRAM output. Specifically here, what they want to focus on is HBM, high bandwidth memory, which is used, of course, in AI systems. The site is about 15 miles from a major city, and it's going to function as an extension of Micron's vertically integrated production footprint. Another company that's vertically integrated, and the only one, by the way, that's American, building at scale. The other two, SK Hynix and Samsung, both South Korean. The facility already includes approximately about 300,000 square feet of clean room space. That's going to allow the company to ramp up production more quickly. But they also plan to build a second facility at the same site, adding about 270,000 square feet in addition to the 300,000 already there of additional clean room capacity. Construction on the new fab is expected to begin by the end of this year, or it says their fiscal year. 2026. So I have to see when their fiscal year 2026 ends, but you guys can do your homework there. And then Wedbush analyst Matt Bryson reiterated outperformance rating on Micron. He did boost the price target, Joey, to $500.
So yeah, I mean, with this new build-out, Sharif is going to increase capacity by 10%, which is huge. But we're already seeing the demand for this, so I think this is really justifiable. When you're building an iPhone, it was equal to about around 10%, but with the increases, that can get bumped up to 12%. So the memory, most definitely in play. Micron making the right moves, but one thing that you often talk about is that when there's an extreme amount of demand for this and you start this build-out, what happens when the demand starts to cool off and you're kind of left with all this extra? I mean, 2027, how long is this going to be sustained? I don't think the expansion is going to be done until then. So it's like you're making this bet that it is sustained through 2027. So
bro, you're bringing up a fantastic point. I think this is a really, really important point that you're bringing up, because Memory before went through boom and bust cycles.
Yeah.
There was a glut of inventory, and then you couldn't get enough of it. And that was like the world that the memory names lived in. A little up, a little down. Now you're starting to get some big name players saying that cyclicality in the memory space is a thing of the past. I'm not saying I agree with them. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they're saying now there's going to be a steady demand for HBM and NAND.
Which would make sense, considering the build-out, right? Considering the AI build-out that we're experiencing right now. A little bit of an increase in iPhone sales as well, too. So
another problem. Another problem.
Yeah, so, I mean, I can see that for sure.
Thank you guys, by the way, in the chat for correcting my pronunciation. I do appreciate that. You know, some of these, I've never seen these names before, so it's a bit of a tougher look. Nebius. I know a lot of people have been looking at Nebius all day. It was up big. It's up 15, almost and 0.75%. It's a $33 billion name, guys, so this is not a small company. And the reason it's up is because Meta has committed to spend up to $27 billion over 5 years to access AI infrastructure, yes, from Nebius Group, securing that long-term computing capacity that they need. Yes, Meta spending more money. Under the agreement, Nebius will provide about $12 billion in dedicated AI compute capacity across multiple deployments. The infrastructure will rely heavily on NVIDIA's next-generation Vera Rubin GPU platform, with deployment scheduled to begin in early 27, so not quite yet. But beyond the base infrastructure deal, Meta's already agreed to purchase up to $15 billion in additional compute capacity from Nebius clusters over the same five-period deal. So the total deal could be basically $42 billion, 27 and 15. It could be, because that 15 is not guaranteed. Nebius said it may sell some of the capacity to third-party customers initially, with the remaining capacity reserved for Meta as it deploys scale. The agreement provides Nebius with long-term contract revenue, at least for 5 years, so they can kind of, you know, cross their T's, dot their I's, and, you know, basically get their accounting in order. And this is not the first time that the companies do business. We know Nebius previously announced a $3 billion AI infrastructure partnership with Meta in November of last year, so a few months ago. The company aims to deploy more than 5 gigawatts of NVIDIA's AI systems by 2030. And last week, NVIDIA also announced a $2 billion investment in Nebius. So they're getting money from everywhere here.
They are, right? And I was just going to go through the list, right? Like, so $27 billion Meta pact, $17 billion with Microsoft agreement, the $2 billion strategic bet from NVDA. Like, who are these guys? Who do they think they are at this point? Those are some big-time deals, right? And I think this stock needs to be taken that's what we got to pull up now,
right? There, it heard you.
Yeah,
look at it, it's the first one.
It's ready, man. It's ready. So, like, those are some big deals with some big-time players. And sure enough, I think at this pace, Sharif, you bounce off of that $78 mark. This previous high of 141, the current pace that we're on, we're going to say AC Slater to that and blow past
Slater,
that.
I love it.
I think it's going to grow. I think it's going to skyrocket past that, to be honest with you.
All right. Let's just pause for a second here. The OG Nick Dub. Sharif, mind giving your thoughts on Reddit here intraday? Great clarification. Thank you for that. Okay, so this is the 5-minute look on RWDT. Let's have a look. Let's throw on the ticker so everybody can follow along. Kind of looks like a consolidation area there, Nick. So obviously a triple top on the 5 into 139. So they're selling at 139. Those sellers were pretty staunchy with that resistance, so couldn't breach that, at least on a closing basis. Locally, though, the resistance has dropped. Look at this. How many times are we going to reject 138? Looks like 138 now, acting as that resistance level. There you have the 1050 candle reject. Can't quite make it up there until the 1125 candle. Then you reject again, 1250, 1255. You have another attempt at 120. So that 138 area not looking good. Now, if I could make a point, it looks like it is finding support here at the 50 EMA on the 5. That's kind of hard to tell, but in any event, those levels are pretty similar. So it looks like the buyers are stepping in at about 136, 136 and a quarter. To me, I trade it as a range, Nick, buying at 136, 136 and a quarter with a stop out, you know, wherever your parameters allow, and then wetting the beak into the high 137s, 138, saving a piece for the dream, of course. So if we do break above that 138, maybe on news with the NVIDIA, who knows what they will announce and how it could help Nebius. Or sorry, Reddit, pardon me. I was thinking I was looking at Nebius here, so I take that back. I would basically be trading it as a range, 136, 136 and a quarter to the low side, 138 to the high side until it breaks up, perhaps even wetting the beak again at 139. That's intraday. So it doesn't look like it's breaking down or breaking above those levels right there. So about, I want to say almost a $2 range we've been in since about 10:30. So let me know how that goes, Nick. Hope you print up more.
I want to touch on this,
Go ahead,
on
Joey.
the overall market here, just before we get back into the news. So there we go. You see I'm logged Tesla right at the lower end of the range. We can't break this 397. We're getting a 5-minute candle opening at the lower end of the range, so that's really bad. As NVDA, the name that we continuously talk about, it did form those higher highs, right, and those higher lows, but it's really ebb and flowy. But with the overall market, the Nasdaq and the SPY, look at this, 1, 2, 3 pivot levels right here, and the latter two forming a lower high on each consecutive occasion. So keep an eye out on that one there, guys.
Opulent Capital. Brother, I like the oil names, the small cap gapper oil names like BATL, TPET, and many others when, you know, oil is making a big move. Today, USO's down about 3%. So if you were looking to trade those names, I'd be looking the exact opposite way as shorts on those names. But when oil's rocketing up and having a 3, 4, 5, 6% day, we're all over those smaller oil names. That's kind of what I meant by that. Thank you for the question there. Let's talk about crypto. Where's the coin at now? The coin is at 73.9. So it's been hanging out, man, at 74-ish basically all day. I don't know what you guys see on your chart, but I see a high a day of 74.772. So on the way to 75. But it's below 74 here again. Bitcoin did briefly break above 74, as this one mentioned, after failing that zone 4 times over the past 2 weeks before pulling back below it. Bitcoin was trading right about 74,000, up almost 3%. Here I have 3 1/3, up in 24 hours, and about 9.7% on the week. So good, you know, weekly look here for Bitcoin after many weeks of basically negativity. Altcoins also joining the rally, with ETH up almost 10% here, 9.56% above 2,300. You also had Solana up, Doge is up as well. The broad participation across the major tokens is suggestive of improving risk appetite rather than a Bitcoin-only move. And I don't think we can really dog that. I mean, a lot of these names that we trade on the show and are invested in are kind of riskier names. And data from CoinGlass showed about $344 million in liquidations across nearly 92,000 traders during the past 24 hours, with the bulwark of that 344 million being short positions that were liquidated. About 285 million of the 344 were liquidations of short positions who obviously had to cover to get out. Ethereum saw the largest short wipeout with about $128 million, followed by Bitcoin at about 125.5 and Solana about $18.5 million. Ethereum has outperformed, as you and I were talking about a little earlier here, Bitcoin by about roughly 4.6%, while Solana also beat Bitcoin's weekly gain. You and I have been talking about Solana for a while, man. This thing was at $200. It's at $95 now. You think these type of names like the Solanas, some of the other,
like I wouldn't even know, it's the same as Cardano, right?
Cardano, another name. Do you think we see more Solana and Cardano millionaires than we see Bitcoin millionaires moving forward?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's cheaper, right? Like, so I wanted to kind of touch on maybe it'll touch on what you just brought up as well, too, is that we're seeing Ethereum really, not really, but starting to slightly outpace Bitcoin. But I think that has a lot to do with the value of the underlying asset, right? So it's a cheaper asset is easier to move than something that's worth $70,000. And then we talk about the Bitcoin millionaires. Again, if it goes to 100,000 once again, then not very many people have that cash, but you can create a millionaire, but you still need it to 10x, opposed to it taking that step from, say, $1 to $100, where you're hitting that substantial return. in general. So
what is the bull case on Solana? Like, what does it have to offer?
I would know absolutely nothing about Solana and Cardano and the XRPs and everything along those lines. I know Ripple is.
Most of the stable coins, Citrini said, are on Solana, so that does make sense.
So there it is. You have the Ethereum and the Solana chain in which things are typically built on.
That's important. Let's talk about oil. Obviously, you know, older headline, oil's down about 3%. We're not gonna, you know, keep harping on this, but President Donald Trump has already made comments. He's off the air now, but earlier he was talking about the administration pushing other allied nations to help secure the tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. I don't think he's been pleased with the participation. Looks like Germany is not going to send anybody. I heard earlier Japan also was not interested in sending anybody. We'll have to wait and see if that changed. The reports suggest, though, a multinational effort to escort tankers may be announced soon. We'll wait and see. Though officials are still debating whether the operation would begin during or after the conflict. A big distinction there. The U.S. also conducted airstrikes on Iranian military targets in the Kharag Island. That is the country's most important oil export hub. President Trump said the attacks targeted military assets only, but they did warn U.S. could strike Iranian's oil infrastructure if tanker attacks continue on the strait. The Kharag Island accounts for about 90% of Iran's oil exports, marking a critical node in global energy supply. Have you seen this island? It's not very big. Like, somebody had a satellite picture of the island. I'll Google it now as you're talking. They have, like, it looks like they have a bunch of, like, oil tankers and containers and refining. I don't even think they have refining there, but it's quite a small island to condense 90% of your exports on, eh?
Yeah, I mean, talk about concentration. I mean, it's a lot going on. We were talking about what you're paying at the pump already here in Toronto, $2.08 for 93. We're probably going to see that continue to increase unless we start to get some positive news. I know they're looking to release some barrels of oil, but how long is that going to be sustained and how long is that going to last for that supply? Not very long, a couple of weeks at most. So, I mean, the conflict, it could get worse, it could get a little bit better, but you have to be extremely patient with this one.
Look at it, Joey. Yeah. So that's where the island is, like on the world map, the atlas, and then this is kind of what it looks like there. Look at all the oil production kind of things there. If you zoom out,
looks like
where is it here?
Looks like a Call of Duty map.
Yeah. This is kind of where the oil production area, I think it's in the southern part of the island, or I'm not really sure. And there's obviously ports where ships can come in, but you kind of see this. It looks like being at Weston Road and Finch. Have you ever been to Weston Road and Finch?
Of course.
That's all this. That's where all we gas up there. Yeah, so that's kind of the look there. We'll hold.
It doesn't look very big now, does it?
No, man. I mean, look at the when you look at it again on the bigger map. It's a small part. It's in the Strait of Hormuz, though.
Yeah.
Oh no. It's here. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's just off the coast of. Well, it's adjacent to the coast of Kuwait. There's Kuwait right there. This is all Saudi. This is, I think, that's Oman over here. That's Iraq. This is Saudi.
That has to be where, that's Dubai,
right here.
Dubai and everything.
Dubai, the Emirates are right here, I think, right there. And then Qatar is over here or whatever, who knows. Any event, let's move on to the next story.
Whoa, so someone says, Stephen Bass, I got an opportunity to invest in OpenAI. Should I take it? Like, you get the chance to be an early investor?
That's interesting there. We can't give you any financial advice. We're restricted, obviously. If you were asking me and I was given the opportunity, I would. I would, even knowing full well, I still think the best days of chat, at least for the moment, are behind it.
For the moment.
But that doesn't mean the market won't remain exuberant on chat. I don't think either of us will give you financial advice.
Sam Altman better pray and work his rear end off and hope that ChatGPT isn't past its best days, considering his funding round.
Yeah, he's got a lot of money. All right, we're going to pause for a second. We got to go up to Adair.
Yeah, so I'll let you guys know the NVIDIA GTC 2026 stream is open. Of course, Jensen Huang has not hit the podium yet. We've got another 12 minutes for that, but they are trying to hype us up with some country music. The last song was You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, so I guess they're really trying to tell us there's a lot that's going to come from this conference. I could not make this up if I tried. So stay with us here on Trader TV Live and stay with us on X at TTV Research. I will be posting updates once we get the GTC stream live with Jensen Huang rather than just country music. Back to you.
All right, thank you. Let's talk a little bit Adobe. They had a tough week last week, obviously, as reported earnings, and it was a tough week, and there's more. There's more headlines today, maybe not as bad. They've reached a settlement. They've reached a proposed settlement with the U.S. Department of Justice over the allegations tied to the subscription cancellation practices. The case alleges violations of the Restore Online Shoppers Confidence Act, ROSCA as they call it, related to how Adobe disclosed subscription terms and the cancellation procedures that followed. We'll get more into those details. The DOJ claimed that Adobe used fine print as well as complex cancellation steps, including early termination fees and repeated offers at cancellation or delays when the customer attempted to cancel. Under the proposed agreement, Adobe would pay about $75 million in civil penalties, as well as providing another $75 million in customer refunds, bringing the total package, of course, to $150 million. The settlement does require Adobe to clearly, now going forward, of course, to clearly disclose early termination fees and how they are calculated before the enrollment phase. Customers must also receive reminders before free trials convert into paid subscriptions, especially when contracts include cancellation penalties. So we're not going to go through the Adobe earnings. They were decent, but the market's still pricing in that this company goes down, Joey, based on AI disruption.
I mean, I think it's more bad news for a company that's been in a steady decline. We got all out of Tesla there, guys. As you can see, it tanking. Great out right there. We had that first one work for us, same amount of size here. Got a nice little pop, but looking for a little bit more, so we get out early just because we did get a move up into 22s. We could have took some off, but looking for a little bit more of a run. So maybe a base hit kind of day for sure. All right, guys, aside from that, yeah, I mean, just more downgrades across the board, maintaining a sell by Goldman Sachs. We have every analyst that I'm essentially reading here lowering its price target to $278. It's not a good look here because of all of the disruptive services here that are really, really hindering Adobe's company, or the business, I should say. Not a good look whatsoever, and it just seems, I said this the other day, when it rains, it pours, and that seems to be the narrative on Adobe.
70%. 70%, Joseph, is what we're off from the highs on Lululemon. Shout out to Jedi 1786. Thank you for the 250. What kind of currency is that? Dope. I don't know what it is, but thank you for it anyway. So this is the daily chart on Lululemon. Needless to say, this is not a good look. We're trading at about 160 now. Looks like the low from last week on Friday, I should say, 156.64. Look, I haven't been into Lulu in a while, but I did hear an anecdotal story that they released this new type of clothing. And this new type of clothing is expensive, yet see-through. So you're wearing this stuff at the gym, and it's showing the goodies. I mean, like, that's not going to work out. So apparently they tried to push back against those reports rather than just admitting mistake and then fixing it. Can someone tell me exactly what's going on? Because you guys will know better in the gym, in the chat about this, because I just heard it super quick about this whole thing, this new line that they closed. What is it called? No, I'm not seeing it quite yet. But anyway, anybody who knows, let me know. So this is not exactly, a chart you want to punch along at. If you're looking for anything, good news here is there is a support level at this level right here. So this 160 level has been a support level in the past. I want to say high 150s in and around this area, and it hasn't really breached this area. Let's see when the last time we were below this area was. Here's the weekly. So the last time we were below this was, over here. So this would be February of 2019. But I think I pointed this out to you before, that this 160 shelf is quite important. It's basically at 2019 levels, 2018 levels as well, where we kind of rejected 160. Even, you know, the COVID drop in March of 2020 got into about looks like 130 or so, quickly retraced and held that level. That's a COVID drop right there. Look at the closing prints. They're all at that 160 area. So this could be an important area for support. Get you, I got you some Lulu. Oh, no, I'm not gonna wear it, man. I'd have to test that bad boy out first. Shout out to Coolio Romeo. Shout out.
All right.
They're called breathable, says Sergio. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Susan Flower. I don't know, Susan. I'm not making it up, man. I really did hear that. And obviously, that's not what people wear Lululemon for. You don't want to be showing off the goodies, Joe.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It depends
You know what vibe I'm kind of getting from Lululemon is that they're really struggling to find their footing and like identify of like what are we. Are we a high-end consumer? Are we that middle class? Because we know people, you go to Lululemon, it's not cheap, right? It's expensive stuff. Yeah. But you have so many other luxury brands. Is Lululemon the first place that you go to?
Yeah. I go to TJ, well, their version of TJX. I go to Winners. I buy all of my stuff from Winners.
And they have Lulu stuff there?
No, they have workout gear. They have Nike.
Exactly, like right? So that's what I'm saying. I think they're really struggling to just like, hey, we're not quite luxury, but I mean, because I think there's so many other brands that you go to ahead of Lululemon to pay that price tag.
Hello? Yeah. Let's go to Adair.
Yeah, it really seems here with 5 minutes to go until this man on my screen takes the podium, Jensen Huang, they're trying to send us some kind of message here with the music. Now they're now saying, I'm rising up, it's my turn to take the stage, which of course will be true of Jensen Huang in a couple of minutes. Yeah, I mean, again, we don't have Jensen here, but I do want to prepare you guys one last time for what we can potentially expect from this GTC conference. Now, we know at GTC Washington, what Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, did was he named a lot of companies that had NVIDIA deals, and a lot of these stocks would have these brief spikes. That's one way to approach this from a trading perspective. Of course, we cannot guarantee in any way that anything similar will happen this time, but that's why I'll be here to keep you guys posted with the different companies that he mentions, if any, and what type of stock moves we are expecting. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Dell and Google Cloud, both teasing out some kind of AI announcement with NVDA today that could take place during this keynote. It's going to be about 2 hours from 2 p.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern, and I'll be here glued to this desk to cover all of it for you. There's just one last reminder here of what to expect. And again, stick with us on X and TTV Research. I'll be tweeting out or Xing out or posting out any kind of relevant info, major info from this conference as well.
Thank you very much, Adair.
Shout
out to Coolio Romeo. Thank you for the Sharif Lulu fund to $1.99 in chat. We appreciate you, brother. Very kind of you.
Buy long here. Let's see, man. We're long. We're long TSLL once again.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm curious. I'm looking at this keynote here, Sharif. How much money do these guys spend on that?
Oh, dude, this is a $4 trillion company,
right?
Joey.
Yeah, I understand that, but like this ain't looking like no cheap event
man.
Here. Look at it's all green, brother.
Where is that?
All green. Where is it?
It's San Jose, I think.
This beautiful backdrop.
I think it might be San Jose Arena, where your boys, the Sharks, play.
My boys, the Sharks.
So.
Yeah, shout out Macklin Celebrini. Anybody out there in San Jose?
San Jose.
Oh, who hit the old boy? SMR, please. I mean,
SMR, you want to have a look at SMR?
Why not, man? We could do whatever the people ask for, right? Because we have that freedom around these neck of the woods. Small, new scale power. I don't know. Is it small, modular? You gotta wait for trend line break, right? Like we were talking about this name, a guy from work, literally, that's his name. He's like, Joe, when do we, that's his tag name, obviously. He's like, Joe, when do we engage in this, right? When do we get involved?
This is what the...
Not anytime soon, right? I mean, you can DCA until oblivion in this thing, but it can continue to bleed. Look where we're trading at, down 80% off of its highs, $57. Right? And then now you're at some key support pivot levels. Where's that next zone? That's going to be around $6. So this thing can continue to bleed. Wait for the trend lines to be broken.
All right, let's talk a little Alibaba just to end the show here. They're launching an enterprise AI agent platform. Interesting look, of course. We're going to see the Baba Claw, as Brendo called it this morning. So Alibaba Group is preparing to launch a new enterprise-focused AI agent platform. Apparently, it's going to come out as soon as this week. The product's going to run on the Qwen AI model, which is Baba's internal AI model, and it aims to integrate with internal services such as their shopping ecosystem, as well as their fintech platform named Alipay, which Jack Ma disappeared for.
If you know, you know. The platform will allow companies to deploy AI agents that can interact with agents built on OpenAI's system. And this is now what we're seeing. We're starting to see these models allow interactions with other models. Not a bad look. The rollout reflects a growing trend, of course, where AI agents operate across multiple software systems. We've seen this with like Claude Bot, for example. You can get it to run on Claude. You can get OpenAI, Gemini. You choose the output that you want to use. So that does help, especially if you like one LLM over another for your purposes. Pricing and commercialization, though, remain unclear, including whether the platform is going to be sold as a standalone service or bundled in with Alibaba Cloud, one of their fastest growing segments, by the way, cloud for Alibaba. A little late to the party, but better late than never. The initiative comes shortly after Alibaba's cloud launched JVS Claw, which is an AI body platform built on the open source OpenClaw framework. It enables rapid deployment of AI agents. Baba did report, Joey, triple-digit growth in AI-related business, making this a sound investment. I mean, if you're growing at triple digits in one sector, you're going to throw some money that sector's away.
Absolutely. My question is, what's the terminal? I'm not familiar with it, but why is everything called Claw? Like what's
I don't know.
Right?
Like maybe you're grabbing stuff, your information.
Right?
I have no idea.
I don't know. That's where I my mind goes with that, especially. But I mean, it's really just launching this. There's Baidu's competitive one Claw launch as well. So the Chinese are
White
kind of, right. Like there's someone said White Claw. No Loon is on one today, man. That was a good one there. But yeah, it's interesting, right? So I do believe this is a neck and neck race. You got the Open Claws here. You have the Baidu Claw. Now you have the Alibaba Claw as well. I haven't used one yet, to be honest.
No, I haven't. Brendo's been, he's used a few. We've used Perplexity Computer.
But don't you use it all up essentially in one day?
Yeah. So that's the ones that you pay for.
Yeah.
But if you actually run OpenClaw, like the Claude Bot one, and you run it locally, you're only restricted to your tokens on the LLM that it uses. So it itself is running locally, right?
Okay.
Or on AWS. If you set it up on AWS like Wayners did, you can do that. Or you can get a Mac Mini, set it up on that, runs internally like here.
Yeah?
Okay. And then the amount of tokens that you're using is when it sources to, say, Chat or Gemini or whatever else, other LLM. That's the only like usability side, token side to it. Otherwise, it's unlimited there. All right, one more thing before we send it over to the big boys. I know we're overtime. Dathong, 2692. Thank you very much, brother, for the $5 super chat. If you swing/day trade, what is a good annual percentage and what is the average? I am new to trading, but make good money so far. I'm going to let the big boys answer that. I think that's probably down their alley. They've been trading a lot longer and they've made a lot more money than us. So I think that's probably one for them. And thank you very much, Dathong. I don't want to kind of
not to brush the question away, but just allow them to answer that.
I think they're better suited, of course, to do that. So, in any event, guys, we're going to send you to the big boys. No afternoon rundown today. Adair is going to be covering the GTC conference, big conference today from NVIDIA. Let's find out what happens. I'm excited for it, Joey. Send him off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Hope everyone's having a pretty good day. I'm looking